is going on, you guys? It's your boys. It's the gang. It's the crew. It's Odds HQ, baby, and odds.com. I'm your host, Bleed. I got these guys with me. I got Guru. I got Locke. I got Cody Saftic. It's Friday night. You know what time it is. It's the final weigh-in, baby. Guru, how you doing?
Yeah, man. How you guys doing? It's going to be a pretty good card tomorrow. I mean, we got Kevin Holland and Derek Brunson. I mean, I thought there was some sort of beef going on, but you wouldn't really get that from the stare down today at the weigh-in. So, Kevin Holland's always, doing some crazy stuff. But yeah, it should be a fun fight, fun card, and definitely excited to break it down.
Stuff got weird. Locke, what do you think? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be back on the panel. It took a little bit of a vacay last weekend, but we're back ready to go. The UFC circus continues on a week-to-week basis, and I'm really looking forward to this one, right? We got Brunson going up against another kind of up-and-coming fighter, and he turned away the last one. Let's see if he can turn away this one as well, and I can't wait to break it down with you guys and hear your thoughts as well. So let's get this thing going, man.
No doubt. Cody Saftic, what's up on this Friday evening?
I always used to say there's nothing I would rather do than watch an out-of-shape Melvin Guillard bare-knuckle box somebody. but here I am foregoing that to hang out with the odds crew, the only place I would rather be. So, yeah, we got another fight. Fun little card, good offering, good spots, and I'm very happy to be joined by the odds squad to break it all down.
Absolutely. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's get it to my man who's back this week. We got JP Buys versus Bruno Silva, flyweight fight. Locke, what do you think?
Yeah, this is the one that got like the most action throughout the week, right? We got JP Buys coming in as a heavy favorite. Now he's down to like minus 130, minus 140. And there's a lot of love on the Bruno Silva side. Once you run the tape, you kind of understand why. And I was telling Cody this last night. It kind of reminds me of Gloria De Paula versus Jinyu Fry last week, where you have a hot prospect coming off the Contender Series, coming into the UFC against a winless UFC opponent, but still, winless, albeit for Bruno Silva. He's still a very skilled guy, and he can go out there and spring the upset here. And a lot of people are buying into that, right? And then it's not just because of the narrative around it with the whole Contender Series and the UFC vet per se, but it comes down to the stylistical approach too, right? Bruno Silva, very tough stretch. Khalid Taha and Tagir Ulanbekov in his last fight. David Dvorak, who's on a little bit of a streak. But I feel like this is a very winnable fight for him, especially if he's able to get out of that first round. I think he has obviously solid jiu-jitsu, solid striking, very good durability. Not to mention, giving Tagir Ulanbekov the fight of his life outside of that Zalgas Zumagula fight that he had. But I think that Bruno Silva is a very light dog here. I think if he's able to survive that first little onslaught from JP, who, great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu, Fortis MMA product. You guys very rarely see me go against a Fortis guy, but I feel like there's still some holes in JP's game. He's still a young guy. Let's cut him some slack here, right? He still has a ton of time to grow and develop as a fighter, and I think it's only recently that he moved down to Fortis as well. So let's give him a little bit more time to grow. And Bruno Silva coming out of fight ready, he has a great training camp around him, and he's been showing developments in his fights, even though he's coming up on the losing end. So I think we see the best version of Bruno Silva tomorrow. I'm actually going to take him as a small dog here. And I think this is, closer to a pick 'em fight. If, again, I truly think as long as it gets out of that first round, we see Bruno slowly start to take over in this fight. And I'm really not sold on that JP cardio at all. I do not like putting money on guys that have poorest cardio, especially when you see it start to fall off around that round and a half mark. And that's kind of what you see with JP. So, I think we see Bruno survive that first round and then slowly start to take over good combinations, maybe a couple takedowns of his own, and really can start to control this fight. So, I see why the line has closed as much as it has. And I still do like Bruno Silva even at this line.
Love it. Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I agree that Bruno Silva is definitely a sleeper choice for sure. You look at the fact that he's technically speaking 0-3 in the UFC. I guess you can give him that no contest Khalid Tafa, but the Khalid fight was at 135 pounds, right? So first and foremost, this guy's a natural flyweight. You want to see him at 125 pounds, and his opponent tests positive for steroids. All right, no big deal. David Dvorak fight, it's close. It's 1-1 going into the third. He scores 3 takedowns on him, and he gives a good account of himself. But it's that last fight against Tagir. He's not a small flyweight, boys. He's 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. I mean, he's a big guy. We all know about his grappling credentials, his acumen. A training partner of Habib Nurmagomedov in the mountains of Dagestan since he was like 14 years old. This guy's got it. And yet, technically, he gets outstruck by Bruno Santos, and he also gives up 4 takedowns. But the most important factor is when he's getting taken down in all of these fights, when he gets taken down 5 times by Tagir, he keeps getting back up and then making him work. He uses the low calf kick very well, puts some pressure on. I'd like to see a little more volume out of him. I'd like to see a little more urgency. And he doesn't really have a whole lot of stopping power. Doesn't have big knockout power, doesn't have the big submission game, but someone that can just grind rounds down on you. So JP Buys, he comes in with, Bays is a accredited wrestler out of South Africa. One would think he's going to go out there and shoot these takedowns. My feeling is Bruno Silva might give a couple takedowns, might get taken down, but he just continuously works his way back up. It's what he does when he gets back up, and that's hopefully land the bigger strikes and persuade the judges. What I like in this fight for the best spot would be fight goes the distance -140. I think if Bays goes out there and he pulls it off, it's going to be a wrestling heavy game plan. Take Bruno Silva down. We've seen Bruno give up takedowns, but again, this guy's super durable. Did get submitted by Taha, but again, we go back to the fact that he was on steroids and is a natural 135-pound fighter. So you give him a pass there, and then he's shown just like he's one of these guys that's durable. He's a grinder. He'll slow the action down if he can. He's tough, and I think that his path of victory on beating JP Buys would also be grinding him down for a decision. So decision -140, I think that's the play. If I had to make an official pick, I would side with the underdog. Although earlier in the week, you could get a very, very nice price on this man. At this point, it's actually closer to a pick 'em. So is it even worth it? Is it even really an underdog selection? I kind of like, for my money, best play would be fight goes the distance -140.
Good stuff. Guru, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of their points. And, one thing that Cody said that I think is going to maybe be the key to the fight for JP or for Bruno potentially is to just make JP work in the grappling. Because, he is a super good grappler. We've seen him hit those belly-to-belly suplexes. He can, really, land some moves that, wow the judges. But everything he does, even on the striking, the grappling, it's all a lot of movement. It's a lot of, energy expenditure. And I feel like Bruno, if he can just make him work, his nickname kind of suits him well, man. He's a dog. He's going to be there for the whole fight. And, JP, I feel like kind of has shown, the ability to fade and kind of look for a way out in the past. We've seen him get finished in both of his losses. He got finished by Joby Sanchez after he got tired. And even in a fight he had in Brave against Gamzat Magomedov, or I don't know if that was exactly his last name, but I know the guy's name was Gamzat. And, he won the fight technically, but, he basically got tired. Gamzat started taking over the fight, was on top of him, and landed, an elbow to the back of the head that really didn't look like it was a terrible elbow, but it ended the fight. JP got the win by disqualification. So, we've seen 3 times where if people can kind of make him work in the grappling, scramble with him, get on top, he does have a tendency to slow down and, he could get finished. So I do think, I think it'll go over 1.5 rounds because I don't really see JP finishing him in the first round. I'd be kind of surprised. So I do think Bruno Silva will probably be able to get the win here. The only thing I think that is on JP's side is he is going to be quite a bit bigger, I think. So, he could maybe just be able to use his size and grind out the fight. But I more think that Bruno will be better on the feet and, he will start to be able to win the scrambles and be better in the grappling down the stretch. So I'm going to go with Bruno here.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, guys, I'm on Bruno as well. He seems to be a pretty popular underdog play this week. I'm going to rock with him. Bruno's in a do or die spot here. He absolutely has got to win this fight. There was the no contest with Taha, but in reality, this guy's lost 3 fights in a row. The last couple have been close, against guys in David Dvorak and, Tagir, who I'm pretty high on. I think these guys are really solid. Bruno kept the fight pretty close, looked good at times, even hit some takedowns. JP's a guy that I definitely feel like is more unproven. The younger man. I feel like this is going to be a step up for JP, and I feel like this could potentially even be a step down for Bruno. I'm not underestimating JP. I think he's pretty solid, but I would like to see him in these later rounds. I'm going to take the shot on Bruno in this one. Another thing that I do feel like worth mentioning, JP's wife fights later in this card. Only a few fights after this fight, he's going to have to go out there and be a corner man. I'm not a fan of that situation. We've seen the Pettis brothers do similar stuff. In my mind, I'm like, fighting's stressful enough to have to go out there, do your job, and then turn around and put on another hat and be a coach. It's just not, I don't like the situation very much. I'm not going to let that play into too much of my pick here, but skill for skill, man. I like Bruno, and he's going to be my pick on this one to start the night off. Okay, second fight of the night. We got Montel Jackson going up against Jesse Strader. Guru, you want to get us going here?
Yeah, this fight, I think, I don't know if anyone's going to pick Jesse Strader, but I feel like Montel Jackson's, minus 650, minus 700 for a reason, even though that line to me is a little bit crazy. But Jesse Strader, he more as a striker. He's kind of quick, but I don't know. I don't really feel like he's very good on the outside. He just kind of likes to dart in, and he has good body shots, like body hooks, and he'll come up to the head. He did fight Marcelo Rojo, and he dropped him, and then eventually he got hit with some knees and got finished. And I feel like him always, going to those hooks to the body in the clinch does leave him real susceptible to knees. So, I mean, I could see Montel Jackson hurting him with the knee, and I just feel like at range, I mean, Jackson has a huge reach advantage on this guy. He's much bigger, much longer. I feel like he's going to have the speed advantage. He, in my opinion, throws better kicks. So I just think Jackson is going to be able to keep it on the feet too. I mean, that's been kind of his Achilles heel. And, I've seen Strader go for takedowns, hit takedowns on some guys, but I don't really think his wrestling is very good. I don't think it's on the level of a guy like Montel Jackson even. So I just feel like it's going to be kind of a firefight. I feel like Strader will go for it, but I think Jackson is just going to probably take him out in that first round by knockout or submission. So I got Montel Jackson here pretty comfortably.
I dig it. Locke, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to go too long on this one. Gru pretty much hit the nail on the head there, right? You got Strader here, who's just, to me, looks like a little bit more of a headhunter, and then Montel Jackson is a little bit better all around. Strader does have a ton of power, so he could definitely get the knockout if it presents itself. I think the under 2.5 is still around -185. I think that has some solid value here, as both guys are, capable of getting the finish. But the line that jumped out to me the most, and me and Cody touched on it last night for the prop show, Jackson via submission +500 +600 is kind of the range that you can get that. So we can see, a club and sub situation, or even if he goes out there and just looks for the takedown immediately to kind of, nullify the amount of risk that he's taking. I think the finish could come pretty quickly for him. So yeah, this is a great way for Jackson to get back into the win column after losing to Brett Johns last time, and hopefully get this kid's confidence back up, because this kid still has a ton of potential. He's a great prospect. A lot of people seem to be already writing this kid off just because he's lost to, Brett Johns and Ricky Simone, but those are very big names that you can, at that point in his career, and not to mention how green he is in his professional MMA career. He only started, only a handful of years ago. So I like what we see from Jackson still. I think he still has a ton of potential, and this is a great fight for him. It's dangerous. Don't get me wrong. It's dangerous for sure. And you're asking for trouble if you're parlaying him at -900 or whatever freaking line he's at. Just take the under 2.5. I think you're better off that way. Covers both results. But I think the juiciest spot here is Montel via submission +600-ish. I like that spot. So yeah, I'll take Montel first or second round submission.
Sounds good to me. Cody Saftic, hit us with it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess we're all on the same page. We got a big favorite here with Montel Jackson. I mean, keep in mind, this guy turned pro less than 4.5 years ago, right? 2 years into his pro career, he's fighting in the UFC against Ricky Simone. His losses are to Ricky Simone, Brett Johns, both like very solid veterans, good guys in the division. They've done him no favors. Again, he's like 2 years into his pro career. It's his second fight in the UFC. He's 0-1 in the UFC, and he draws Brian Kelleher. Like, this is not a favorable matchup for most guys, young in their career, 2 years as a pro. And yet you see Montel Jackson, like, he's developing very quickly. He does have that submission game. That's why I locked onto something with a 6-1 submission prop. Just because he generally likes to get those knockouts doesn't mean he won't grab a hold of your neck if he's capable of. And with Jesse Strader, the guy just comes out and throws caution to the wind. So do you want to stand there in front of him and have a fun fight, or do you want to take him down and submit him? Get your bonus and go home. I think that would be the path to victory. Montel Jackson definitely capable of doing it. With Jesse Strader, like, he's fun. He'll go out there. He'll throw a 50-punch combination. He'll let his hands fly, generally a headhunter, but he'll put pressure on you. His fight with Marcel Rojo was extremely fun for Combache. But, I mean, that's just it. He's 5-1. He fought one notable guy with Rojo, who most people wouldn't have known if he hadn't fought Charles Jourdain just last weekend. Besides that, it's a lot of guys with losing records. So I think he's going to come in here with Montel Jackson. He's going to be outgunned. Montel Jackson's got the physicality. He's got the athleticism. He's got the speed. He's got the length. And more so than not, go and get this fight to the ground. And that's where he'll be able to utilize his best weapons. Money line, you can't really bet it, right? If you chase that submission prop, it is a 6-1. But just the Montel Jackson inside the distance, -170, covers you both sides in case he does go out there and get the TKO, which, again, I think he's capable of. And with Jesse Strader, I mean, come on, man. He's Aaron Carter's boxing coach. And if you've watched any footage of Aaron Carter hitting mitts, it ain't pretty. The one thing is I wonder if Aaron Carter calls him Master Strader. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I don't really know what he's got going for him. I think he's really fun and exciting. And I think if you give him the proper matchup, he can have these fight of the night type performances as a curtain jerker for the prelims, but they know what they're doing with Montel Jackson. The last cool point here is Montel's almost been off for a year, and he's only been pro for almost 4 years. So realistically, the time he spent off represents like 25% of his entire professional career. You don't think this kid's going to come in here and make it? If he comes up as the same version of we've seen, he wins this fight. If he's made marginal improvements, he could be still a scary little talent in the division. So I like the kid. I'm not writing him off, and I think he gets the win. This is too big of a money line price tag, so I'll be chasing that inside the distance, -170.
Right on. Hey, well, first off, let me get out that obligatory Montel Jackson has bigger hands than Francis Ngannou snippet. We're going to hear that during this fight. But yeah, I'm on Jackson as well. Cody, I'm with you, man. I think the inside the distance is the angle here. That was almost mispriced earlier this week. You could almost get that at close to even money. Now it's more like a minus 200. I think that's the spot. I just think Montel's probably getting this one inside the distance. Strader for me, not an ultra technical guy, definitely an aggressive guy, definitely a guy that hits hard. And I mean, that's really about the best shot I see him having here. I think it's the puncher's chance. Give me Montel. I think he gets this one done. Kind of feels like a layup, but this is fighting, man. We know crazy things can happen, but give me Montel Jackson as the ultra heavy favorite, heaviest favorite on the card, in fact. All right, this is a fight I can't wait to hear your guys' opinion on. We got Trevin Giles going up against the debuting middleweight Roman Dolidze. Cody, you want to get us going here?
Yeah, I mean, the opticals are crazy, right? So with Roman Dolidze, I mean, we all know this is a guy that started his grappling career winning the ADCC Oceania regional level tournament. I mean, to get into the bigger tournament, he won the 2013 FILA World Championships. He did it all at 99 kilograms, 218 pounds. He fights in MMA at 205 pounds. And just the thought of him coming down to 185, I've been salivating over the idea. I mean, is this a winnable fight for either man? Yeah, but come on. I mean, he's gone on record many times saying he walks around at 205. He was already getting ready for a move to 185. But Roman Dolidze is taking this fight on short notice. So I really want to see what he looks on the scales. Gets on his scales. Dude looks like he'd been fighting at 185 his entire career. He looked exactly the same. Like, where did the 20 pounds come from? I don't know. I mean, he looked a little less muscular, I suppose, than he used to. Is that going to matter? Maybe, maybe not. Again, I have mixed opinions on this fight. When I go back to it, though, I mean, as far as stand-up goes, right, we'll start there, is that Trevin Giles is a much better striker. He's got a better jab. He's got better hands. Does he have a cardio problem? Potentially. But with Roman Dolidze, he's got power. He's just so wild. He's very loopy. He's very raw. He's very aggressive. He'll go out there and throw spinning techniques or, just something that's a big overhand right, a one-and-done type shot. He's not a more polished, refined striker. So if he was, for whatever reason, unable to get this fight to the ground, then I think that Trevin Giles could have a lot of success in the stand-up department. He keeps coming back to this takedown defense. One thing I found pretty notable about Trevin Giles is that he does overall show an 80% takedown defense in the UFC. And a lot of these fights, I don't mind his wrestling. His problem is the later you get him into these rounds, he tires out. I mean, James Krause does take him down in the first, so I'll give credit where credit's due. But the two losses to Gerald Mearshart and Zach Cummings, I mean, it's a case of him getting tired. He looks pretty good in the first round, both fights. The second round, you can start seeing he's starting to get tired. In the third round, his game just falls off completely. I mean, Zach Cummings drops him before grabbing a hold of that guillotine choke. And then we see him with Gerald Mearshart, same thing. I mean, hurt the guy, tire the guy, get him down, submit him. Has he made improvements to his game? I don't know. He's a full-time police officer, but he's still only 28 years old. He's got like 4 or 5 teammates from Fortis MMA on this card. One would have to imagine that if he's in shape, he could potentially go and deliver. It's just so hard to, really fully grasp, is he in shape? So his last couple fights, the James Krause fight, again, he's fighting a guy on 24 hours notice, who's a former lightweight, who's campaigned at welterweight, who's now taking this fight at 185. That fight, he looks awful. You see him in his very next fight, a lot of people want to write him off, but it's against Bavon Lewis. And, Bavon tries to grapple him. He tries to grind him down. And I thought Giles looked better in that fight. But again, it's against a limited level of competition. If Roman Dolidze goes out there and takes him down, this thing's done. Maybe he doesn't submit him right away, but he'll just hold him down and tire him out. And then all of a sudden, Giles is less effective with his striking. His punches got a little less zip off them. He's not able to hurt Roman. And Roman just be able to go there and take him down great. Roman at 185, again, we got to wonder about his own gas tank. Will the weight cut affect him whatsoever? This is all new territory to him. He's generally used to going out there and overpowering guys to the ground. But if he goes out there and Giles gives him a little bit of resistance, I mean, how's he gonna react to that? I think that you would chase that dog. I think that you would try to sneak in a dog play, but the ways didn't really make me any more confident than I thought I was going to be on this one. So I'm actually going to side with Giles. I'm going to take Giles by decision. I'm hoping he's able to keep this fight standing and use his better boxing. But is there a world where he just gets peeled down right to the ground in the first round, and then by the second round he's tired, and by the third round he's cooked? Yeah, certainly. We have seen it from Trevin Giles. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here. 28, hopefully has kind of made those adjustments in his own career, found a way to balance work in his fight life. But I'll give Giles one more shot. I know that's not exactly the most popular play this week. Everybody I'm seeing is on Roman Dolidze. But I think that maybe we're giving this guy a little too much credit too soon.
Right on. Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, interesting fight, right? I mean, I was actually thinking Roman, since he took this fight on short notice, I was thinking maybe he was going to come in like a little bit heavy and that could be a factor in the fight because he was going to try to grapple. But like Cody said, I mean, it looked like he made weight really easily. It didn't seem like he really struggled at all. So, I mean, that's at least a good sign for him. But I do feel like his last fight, he didn't really look very good against John Alon. I mean, on the feet, I felt like John was actually winning the striking exchanges. And, Alon, he's a guy that gets taken down real easy. I mean, this is a guy that lost to, Mamuche on the Dana White Contender Series. He got taken down and submitted. So, I mean, like, I don't really feel like taking down John Alon is going to be as easy as taking down Trevin Giles is. And I do kind of worry about the speed difference because I felt like Roman at 205 was even, kind of a little bit slow with his boxing, with his hands. And at 185, I feel like Trevin Giles is going to have a big speed advantage. And, footwork-wise, I mean, if he can just move around and, touch and move, not get taken down, I think he could win the striking pretty easily. But, ultimately, I mean, if he does get taken down early, I do think he'll probably get tired. But I don't know. I just feel like Roman, too, on the ground, he goes for a lot of leg locks, gives up position. And I'm not really a huge fan of him on the ground either. I don't really feel like he's, necessarily going to be way better than Trevin Giles in terms of the grappling. So I'm actually going to go with Trevin Giles as well. I'm just going to, I feel like he looked good in his last fight. He's had a lot more high-level competition than Roman. So I just feel like, if he can come in here with a good game plan, in shape, he'll be able to get the win. So I'm going to go with Trevin Giles.
Lock, who you got?
Yeah, I guess I'm playing contrarian on this side. I like me some Roman, but it is a little bit of a concern coming down the weight class for the first time in the UFC, right? On short notice. But by all accounts, it seems like he was already ready and to go down to 185, and he just hopped on the short notice opportunity and taking on Trevin Giles. And I think it's a decent, stylistic matchup for him. Yeah, Giles is going to have the striking advantage, or at least in terms of speed. He's been in the UFC a lot longer. He has that experience and all that. And this will definitely be the best fighter that Roman Dolidze is going up against, right? We're talking about like miles above Mr. Khadisi Blagimov in Trevin Giles here. But even that said, I still think that Trevin Giles just shows all these inefficiencies. Like I'm not a big fan, obviously, of his cardio. The guy starts to slow down a lot, especially later in the fight. Whereas Roman, it seems like his cardio is on point, but we truly get to see it tested this time around with him going down to 185. It's got to be demoralizing, though, going up against a guy like Roman Dolidze, who, one, probably talks as much as he does inside the cage. Two, has that like big dick energy type of thing where he's just like, I'm probably going to knock you out. You might be faster than me. You might be better than me, but I'm probably going to knock you out regardless because I got some bungalows in my hands. If you just watch his like last couple fights before coming to the UFC, you will have no idea that this guy is actually skilled on the ground. Like he's just waiting for his shot to counter and waiting for his shot to knock you out. And it more often than not transpires and it works out for him. But in this spot, he's probably going to drop the first round. That's where Trevin Giles will be the best. He's going to be able to move well. He's going to be able to jab his face off. He's going to be able to stay on the outside. But at a certain point, Giles is going to have to continuously get away from that big power of Dolidze, not to mention the takedown threat of Dolidze. Who knows how strong he's going to be at this division too, right? The guy looked amazing on the skills. He didn't look drawn out at all. He looked ready to go. So I think Trevin Giles might be in for a little bit of a rude awakening when they start to tie up. And I think that's where we'll see Roman really start to succeed. And I'm hoping also that we see a little bit better kind of fight IQ from Roman, right? Dropping for heel hooks the way that he was, and that John Allen fight probably wasn't the best thing to do. But I think that was also his first ever training camp under Eric Nixick. He's, down there at Extreme Couture now. He owns a gym in Ukraine that he just completely ditched. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to Vegas. I want to take my fighting career seriously. And I think this is a perfect spot for him to go out there and showcase, okay, this is going to be my second somewhat of a training camp here with Eric. From all accounts, it doesn't look like he even went back to Ukraine after his last fight. So I think that he's going to, been training, been ready to go, obviously getting his weight down. So, the guy's like, obviously serious about it. And the fact that he even took it on short notice is, you got to give the guy some credit there. So I think we see him show up. I think we see him kind of deal in that first round with the speed. I think he has a granite chin. The guy, even if Giles lands a big bomb on him, I don't expect him to fold here. And then come that second round, I think that we see Giles start to slow down a little bit, start to get demoralized, and we see Dolidze either start completing takedowns, start controlling him, and then landing some of his big shots too. So I like Dolidze by decision here, but I truly want to see him first and foremost at 185, see how his cardio holds up, see if he has sharpened up his fight IQ, and then maybe I'll ride with him a little bit more in future matchups. But I think this is a good spot for him to go out there and beat a guy in Trevin Giles, which is kind of surprising that he's only 16-2, or 13-2, I should say, is Trevin Giles. His only two losses to Zach Cummings and Gerald Mearshart. But like, you would expect a guy to be a little bit more talented with that type of record, and I'm not that impressed with Trevin, to be honest. So yeah, I like Dolidze here. I don't mind the line either at that pick'em line, but let's see him go out there and perform at 185 before we go out there and throw some serious money on him. So yeah, I do like Dolidze, and I'll take him to win by decision.
Well, Locke, I like Dolidze as well. This is a guy coming down from 205. Man, Cody, I was with you. I was saying to myself earlier this week, I don't know if this guy can really make 185. This is a big, strong dude. Where is this 20 pounds going to come from? Man, he showed up at weigh-ins. I thought he might look miserable. I thought he might look terrible. Definitely looked a little skinnier. Definitely looked a little more sucked out. Definitely a little more dehydrated. But you know what? I felt like he showed good body language, and I think he nailed this, man. So another thing we learned at weigh-ins too, man, Trevin Giles, not a big middleweight. Well, Dolidze is. He's got some size. And, both guys I question fight IQ, right? Trevin Giles, I feel like there's been fights that he's had in the bag. And, he's just made mental mistakes. He's been caught. He's lost fights. He's just a really tough guy for me to back. Another thing that really sketches me out here, I've seen Trevin Giles controlled for an entire round by James Krause. I mean, James Krause, the former 155er, did a decent job grappling with this guy. I feel like if Roman Dolidze can get in a dominant position here, man, I think Giles is going to be in a world of hurt. I do think Roman's going to be able to get him down. I do think he's going to be able to put in some work. Man, you guys talked about it, though. Homeboy dropping back for the leg locks. I am not into that at all. Coach, should I submit him now? Dude's crazy, right? I don't know where that's coming from. I hope he's moved beyond that. That's the area of the fight IQ that I question from Roman. I think he's going to come here. I think he's going to take this fight serious. We do have that question mark, man. What is that gas tank going to look like? What is his pace going to look like? Draining all the way down to 185? I don't know, but I got Roman Dolidze in this one, and honestly, I feel better about it than I probably should. I feel like you back Trevin Giles, it's sketchy. You go against Trevin Giles, it's kind of sketchy. Give me Dolidze. Cody, do you want to throw something in there?
Yeah, just the only thing I was going to throw in there is that James Krause's grappling style is high ring IQ. Oh, I have your back. I'll just backpack you. I'll just hold this one singular position. Roman's grappling style is, Coach, should I drop back and get a dominant position for a fucking heel hook? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, do that. So anyways, I think it's a fun fight either way. Clearly the comment section is on Roman. We're getting shit on me and Guru, but hopefully we get a laugh come Saturday. We'll only have to wait and see.
Right on. Well, let's roll right along. Hey, another intriguing matchup, man. Grant Dawson versus Leonardo Santos. Locke, I think we're back around to you, my man.
Yeah, this is another one where we got a guy coming into a different weight class. You got Grant Dawson going up to 155 pounds, looked great on the scales, looked nice and buff and big, and it looked like he was healthy and ready to go. So in this fight against Santos, he's going to need that 3-round cardio, I think. I think if he goes out there and tries to implement his game plan right off the bat, which is normally take guys down and grind them out and look for that submission, he's going to be taking Leonardo Santos down right into his bread and butter, which is his jiu-jitsu. So he needs to be very wary of that first and foremost. I think it's going to start to look a little closer to like Islam Makhachev versus Davy Hamosh, where we got, both guys grapplers. Obviously, Davy Hamosh, very skilled jiu-jitsu player, similar to Santos, and then Makhachev, similar to Dawson, which is, great takedowns, great wrestling, good jiu-jitsu of their own. But they don't want to just jump right into that grappling game. So I think we'll see Dawson go out there, implement those calf kicks, something that he showed a lot in his last fight against Nad Narimani. Obviously, a James Krause guy as well, too. So you know that they're going out there and having a solid game plan. And I'm really looking forward to, seeing how he's able to implement it. And Leonardo Santos did look, a tad bit bigger than him, but I think that Santos is one of those bigger guys at that division. So I think we see Dawson kind of play on the feet for maybe a round and a half or so, and then probably start to take him down later in this fight if he doesn't already finish him with some strikes or something. But let's not sleep on the striking of Santos, right? Did anybody expect him to go out there and knock out Stevie Ray the way that he did, or knock out Kevin Lee the way that he did? No, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, right? He's a Novo Unyao. I want to take you down and try to submit you. Not a guy that's going to bomb on you with the strikes, but he still manages to go out there and do the damn thing. So I still lean Dawson here. I'm not a big fan of the line, to be honest. I do think Dawson tries to stretch this as late as he can, really start to work that cardio of Leonardo Santos, which is super sketchy, especially in that Roman Bogota fight, which was his last one just under a year ago. Yeah, solid takedown defense as well from Leonardo Santos, shucking off 10 of 11 attempts from Bogotov last time around. But I still do like what we see from Dawson. The guy's still, improving on a fight-to-fight basis. And I think that 155 could be his true calling. Like 145, apparently he had a ton of trouble making that weight. So why, sacrifice the longevity of your career to continuously make a weight that, you're not comfortable at? It's crazy, especially what happened with Stolyarenko this morning as well. Like, you don't want a similar case of that. So let's go out there, go to 155, start truly, working into this weight class. And I think this is a great fight for him stylistically in terms of, kind of challenging himself and saying, okay, what if I don't have my wrestling to bank on right off the bat, which she's not going to? I'd be very surprised if we see him go out there and take Santos down right away. If he does, then I'm like, okay, this guy's playing with fire, and anybody who has a minus 200 Dawson ticket's like, oh, fuck, I don't know if this is the way I would go about this fight. But you got to believe with a guy like James Cross in his corner that they're going to have a very solid game plan. I be surprised if it wasn't centered around the calf kicks that he likes to use so often. So yeah, I'll go with Dawson here. I'll go with him to win by decision. But yeah, just be very wary of that first round, because as much as people want to shit on Leonardo Santos for being 40, 41 years old, the guy still has some pop in his shots in terms of at least knocking some dudes out. And then jiu-jitsu is normally kind of the last martial art to truly leave anybody, right? You got Glover Teixeira going out there and wrapping dudes up in pretzels at 43 years old. You got Damian Maia doing the same damn thing, right? Leonardo Santos, I think, probably has that type of jiu-jitsu as well. So let's hope Dawson plays the safe and he pulls out a decision victory here. So yeah, I'll go decision for Grant Dawson.
Sounds good to me. Cody, what do you think?
Okay, so let's say that Leo Santos still had that jiu-jitsu, right? He's got 27% takedown accuracy in the UFC. His wrestling is very, very soft. He hasn't submitted anybody in 6 years. So yeah, he's got jiu-jitsu. But, again, I think that there's levels to this, and he's at the highest level, right? He's a 7-time jiu-jitsu world champion. I seen the guy flying armbar George St. Pierre one time. He's got all the grappling in the world. I just mean the way it translates to MMA, like, he's not going out there and applying these submissions. If he gets on top of you, you ain't going anywhere, but he needs to get the fight to the ground, and he's got an inability to do that. So he spends a ton of time working on his striking, and striking's come a long way. Knocks out Kevin Lee in the first round, knocks out Stevie Ray in the first round. But besides that, his cardio is bad, and it's always been bad. And yet, when he knocks those guys out in the first, it looks great. All the fights that have been extended past the first round, the Efren Escudero fight, the Adriano Martino fight, and then obviously his last round against Bogotov, man, he just gasses so fast. And when he gasses, his game just goes right out the window. Yes, Grant Dawson's coming up from 45 to 55, but he should have been here already. Dawson's last fight was a catchweight of 150. He actually missed weight in the Derek Minner fight, came in at 149. Weight cut to 145 was obviously too big for him. You see him, he's got a huge frame. Makes a lot of sense that he'd be coming up to lightweight, and I think that this is going to be a good spot for him. How he matches up against Leo Santos, listen, you don't want to go to the ground with Leo, but he's going to have to at some point. I think he's going to be comfortable there. I think he's going to grind him, tire this guy out, and once you got to tire Leo Santos, these arm bars and these triangles and all these things that you think might be coming at you, they're not. He's also not the same type of grappler off his back that he is in top control, right? So again, there's a big difference there. I mean, we're not going to get to talk about Julia Avila this week, but on top position, I mean, that girl's a threat. She's got very, very heavy hips. She can rain down some punishment. She's good on top. What we saw in the Eubanks fight on the ground, like off her back, she was just completely neutralized, had nothing to do, right? I don't think Leo Santos is going to be completely out of the water, but I think Grant Dawson on top of him is just going to tire him out. As far as the striking goes, I actually give the advantage to Leo Santos. He's a lot smoother. He's a lot more technical. He's got a better jab. He's got a straight right hand. Grant Dawson's a little bit wild, He'll throw a flying knee, not even to hit you, just to close distance and grab a hold of you. He likes to throw short shots in the pocket. He likes to kind of a little dirty boxing a little bit. It's not nearly as refined, but it's that youth, it's that aggression, it's that pressure. It's his ability to just walk him down and keep breaking it on you. And I keep running this fight in my head, and it's like, well, if Leo Santos beats him, he's going to beat him in the first couple minutes. And they hear Grant Dawson go on the record and be like, this guy better hope he finishes me in the first 30 seconds. Because I'm going to break him after that. That's honestly how I do see this one going. So I think the longer the fight plays out, Grant Dawson's able to have his way. I'm looking at a Grant Dawson. Originally last night, Locke and I spoke about it, and Grant Dawson by decisions plus 120. Leo Santos is super durable. You don't see guys knocking this guy out. You're sure as hell not submitting him. So, beyond anything else, Grant Dawson probably just takes him down, controls a couple of the rounds, has the more appealing shots for the judges, and ends up winning a decision. But Leo Santos has got awful cardio, man. And every third round he's in, it looks like he could be finished. Unfortunately, his opponent doesn't really have that extra drive or that second gear to go to get that finish. But with Grant Dawson, he's young, He's hungry. He's obviously had a good weight cut coming up to 155 for the first time. And he understands that the game plan is survive that early minute or two against this guy and then put the pressure and break him. If he's in a position in the third round where he can search for that finish, these young guys that are hungry and they're aggressive and they want to move up the rankings and they want to put on a show, they'll go for it. They'll absolutely try to push that pace and go for that finish. And so when we're talking about, if you're a third round finish prop kind of guy, I mean, it's 15-1 for Grant Dawson third round finish.
Wow.
But I guess logic would dictate that if Grant Dawson does get the win here, probably does it by decision. But that was something that was appealing to me. Last thing I want to mention is that I met Leo Santos. I interviewed him at Extreme Couture Toronto one time. He's a Nova União black belt. They have an affiliation with Nova União. And he was coming off the Adrian Martins fight, which was 3 years earlier. He hadn't quite come back in the Stevie Ray fight. It'd been 3 years. And I remember asking him, like, it's been injuries, like, why you been on? And he was extremely adamant that the UFC just wasn't offering him fights, that he wanted to fight, but nobody was accepting fights with him, which, to be honest, is bullshit, because you have a contract that's obligating that they offer you 3 fights a year. And you have not taken any of these 3 fights for a term of almost 3 years. Like, I don't know. I never understood why he said that. No one wants to fight. No one wants to fight. He comes back and fights Stevie Ray and then fights Bogatov. Okay, am I sold on this guy? No, not really. 41 is the narrative everyone keeps talking about, but we're about to talk about Marion who's 43. Like, age is just a number, man. It's the matchup you have in front of you. I don't think this is a good matchup for him. So I'm going to go with Grant Dawson. Every week I seem to have some apple pie shitter, and it's one of these like, oh, I knew that guy was a little too green, like high in sight bullshit. I'm hoping this ain't the one. Dawson, do what you're capable of. Come through for me. Grind this guy down. Hopefully even get a third round finish, but I'm going to go with Grant Dawson.
Right on. Guru, spit that hot fire.
Yeah, man, this is a fight that I don't really like breaking down because I'm actually a fan of Leo Santos, man, his style. I feel like he's been undefeated in the UFC for 9 years, even though he only has, I think, 8 fights, or this might be his 9th fight. But, I mean, he's been able to, somehow not lose. But I just feel like in this fight, like they said, I think the cardio is going to be the big thing. But I do think the first round, I mean, I feel like Leo Santos has way better striking than Grant Dawson. I mean, Grant Dawson, I don't know why. I mean, he does that Philly show like Floyd Mayweather, but it's like, man, like it's so ugly. It's like, dude, just put your hands up, man, and just try to strike like normal. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like Leo definitely, I mean, that straight right hand is a laser, man. I mean, he's hurt Roman Bogatov with it. He knocked out Stevie Ray, finished Kevin Lee. So that's something that, I feel like early on is going to be a weapon for him. But I feel like actually in terms of the grappling, even though Leo is like 7-time jiu-jitsu world champion, he has all that. I feel like you get to some point, like he's so good, he's done jiu-jitsu for so long, you just want to go out there and just throw hands, man, strike and brawl. So he doesn't even try to grapple anymore. And it seems like I feel like in fights he has good takedown defense, but he'll allow himself to just rest against the cage. He just sits there. He doesn't do much. And I feel like that's what Grant Dawson needs to do. I don't think that necessarily, even in the first round, I don't want him to be really at range with a guy like Leo Santos, because I just feel like he's really hittable. And I mean, Leo has good distance control. He has that nice body kick, head kick that he throws, and he has the straight right hand. So I feel like it's going to be danger for Grant Dawson. But if he can just close that gap, which that's basically what his whole striking is predicated on, and just get Leo against the cage, grind on him, hold him there, I think Leo eventually starts to just basically accept position against the cage. And then once he's more and more tired, then Grant Dawson could take him down and, eventually try to, ground and pound and maybe finish the fight. I've heard him talk about submitting Leo Santos, which that would be pretty sick if he could pull it off. But, I mean, I don't really see that happening. I do like that third round prop because, I mean, if he's tired and, he's on the ground, I mean, maybe Grant Dawson could just finish him with some ground and pound or something like that. But, yeah, hopefully, I'm not going to have any action on it. So hopefully Leo Santos knocks him out in the first round or something. But I think Grant Dawson will probably win the fight, man.
Yeah, I'm with you guys fully. I'm going to have to take Dawson. I mean, Dawson, we're talking about a dude 14 years younger. I mean, come on. Now, does that mean that, there's an experience advantage here? I mean, yeah, to an extent, but at the same time, this dude's so inactive, I mean, Leonardo Santos is fighting once a year and a half, really. I just really don't know the inactivity. But at this, all you can really say is this guy spent the majority of his prime sitting out. It's just been inactivity. Great win streak, but we can't talk about it when the guy only fights once every year and a half, right? And not really high-level competition. Grant Dawson's a guy, a wrestling coach, out of Glory with James Krause, the guy who we were just talking about, right? I think the most likely path to victory here for either guy is Grant Dawson's going to go out here. He's going to repeatedly take Santos down if necessary. He might just take the guy down and hold him down. Santos might, with the jiu-jitsu credentials, might feel comfortable off his back, might feel like he's going to throw something up and catch Grant Dawson. Well, no one has yet. At the same time, though, man, Leonardo, Guru, you talked about it, dude. This guy can throw hands. So while I do think maybe an early finish is in play, as far as the striking for Leonardo, maybe he can catch Grant Dawson. The one time he's lost, he ate some elbows, he got finished, he got TKO'd. I'm not seeing it though. I feel like that's a lot less likely than Grant Dawson going out here drowning this guy. Man, I tell you what, I like that third round prop you guys are talking about, because absolutely Leonardo's cardio drops off, man. I could see Grant really turning up on this guy, raining down some heavy shots. Guru, you're talking about the sub. Wow, that would be something. I got Grant Dawson in this one. Okay. Here we go. Marion Reneau versus Macy Chiasson. Another 14-year age gap here. How weird is that for back-to-back fights? Cody Saftic, why don't you get us going here?
Yeah, so we got the 43-year-old ninth wonder of the world, Marion Reneau. I mean, it's pretty crazy to consider this is a girl that Dana White told was too old to go in the Ultimate Fighter. She's like 37. The cutoff is like 35. She's a former, she's a full-time gym teacher. She starts fighting professional MMA because she wants to put a college tuition aside for her daughter. And yet, nearly a decade in, it's like she's still fighting. And they never really give her these easy matchups. I mean, it's a lot of ranked women or former title challengers. But it doesn't matter who they match up Marion Reneau with. She goes out there and she gives a full effort every time out. I mean, there are a lot of closely contested fights. Sometimes she wins, sometimes she loses. Yeah, the recency is that she's 0-3. She hasn't won a fight in a little while. But again, she always shows up in great shape. And, she's got intangibles to her game. She's aggressive. She's a decent enough striker. But she'll back you up. She'll let her hands go. For the women's MMA division, she does have good volume. She does have good pressure. She does have decent power. But as well, BJJ black belt and very heavy. We'll throw up submissions. We'll try to get you to the ground. We'll try to work at you. Doesn't generally tire. The problem is usually going into the third round, there's often a lot of cases where she's down 2 rounds. But then in the third, she does exactly what she needs to do. You go back to the Yanez Kunitskaya fight, which some people actually thought she won. I didn't necessarily at the time. But when you look at pure damage, it's like, my God, Marion Reneau really busts her up, sends her to the hospital. The hospital picks in itself are nasty. And again, this is Marion Reneau and what she does. When you look at the list of opponents, Raquel Pennington, a former title challenger, Yanez Kunitskaya, a former title challenger, Kat Zingano, a former title challenger, Sarah McMahon, a former title challenger, even the Betchko Hea and the Holly Holm, and Jessica Andrade. Like, she has really fought that upper echelon. At 43, one would have to assume she's slowing down. One would have to assume she's not the same girl that she used to be. One would have to assume that the speed and all these different factors that come with age. Listen, father time is, I guess in this case, it's mother time, is undefeated. It'll catch up to anybody at any point. But at 43, we have seen people in worse shape than Marion Reneau. I don't really think that it's the biggest factor. With Macy Chiasson, I want to say if this was a younger Reneau, it's prime for the taking, right? Macy Chiasson, she's big, she's strong, but she's extremely green. When you look at a list of opponents, Marion Reneau's fought 7 former world title challengers. She technically beat Jessica Andrade with a submission, right? A former world champion. She has that experience. She's got the list of opponents, whereas Macy Chiasson has been fighting, a Shayna Young taking the fight on short notice, moving up a weight class. She lost to Lena Landsberg pretty decisively. And I want to go back to the Lena Landsberg fight in particular, is that Lena Landsberg's a European Muay Thai champion, from Sweden, 3-time Swedish Muay Thai champ. The fact that Landsberg gets her down, and when she does get her down, Chiasson's just lost. She's got nothing. She seemed to fatigue in that fight. She didn't really seem to have her wits about her. This is a girl that used to fight at 145 on the Ultimate Fighter. At 135, are the weight cuts affecting her? She did look a little flat on the scales today, just didn't seem super energetic. But again, this is weigh-ins. It's kind of understandable that everybody's kind of looking a little bit down and flat. So not the end of the world. I honestly do think that Marion Reneau could just push her backwards, be the aggressor, bring the fight to her, and then try to mix in a couple takedowns, try to get this fight to the ground. And if you were successful at getting the fight to the ground, top control would be there for you. The fact that I can make a legitimate argument for a 43-year-old Marion Reneau is all the reason I need to just pass. I'm passing on this fight. Be a fun fight. I love all the fights. I watch every fight. I know there's always a joke like bathroom break or beer break. No, I'll run during commercials and have the beer during the fight. I like this fight. It's going to be a fun one. I just don't know that you want to bet your money on this because again, consensus would be Macy Chiasson. She's bigger and she's stronger, and the absence has probably allowed her to develop her game and Fortis MMA, a bunch of teammates on the card. And, there's a whole lot of narratives that she should have it. But when you tape study and you watch the film and you look at the skills and you look at the assets and the intangibles, I really think that Marion Reneau is live as an underdog. And to me, that's just, I don't want to bet on the 43-year-old Marion Reneau, the gym teacher, right? So call me a coward. I'll call myself a coward here. I'm just going to hit a flat pass.
I'm going to be a coward too on this one, Cody. Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, man, maybe we all are, because I agree, dude. I mean, this fight, another thing to talk about with Macy Chiasson is I was reading an article about her on like why this fight was canceled or rescheduled, and she was saying like she had a mild concussion. So, to me, that's not a very good sign. If you're going to say you had a mild concussion, then you're going to jump right back into a training camp and fight a month later. So that to me was kind of a really like a weird thing. So that kind of is throwing me off in this fight. And I do feel like on the feet, you have to say Reneau is way better. In terms of like at range, Macy's good in the clinch because she's tall and she has those nice knees, elbows, but her boxing is really pretty bad. I feel like Marion Reneau actually has a big edge in terms of boxing, and she's actually, I feel like, a decent boxer. Her hands are obviously not going to be getting faster, but she used to have one of the faster hands in the division. I feel like she still has pretty quick hands. And I don't know, she busted up Yana Kunitskaya's face. She's definitely fought a lot better competition than Macy. And I feel like she has an advantage on the ground with the jiu-jitsu as well. She has several finishes on the ground. I think she's finished like almost all of her UFC fights as well. So that's something to look at too. And I feel like if she on bottom, I think that she could pose issues to Macy. And if she can get on top, I think she could even potentially finish the fight. We've also seen Macy at 135, I feel like not be as good as at 145, where we saw her do really well on tough. We saw her dominate Pani Kianzad, but then you see her at 135 against these girls like Sarah Moras. She's getting taken down. Against Lena Landsberg, she got tired, ended up losing that fight to another girl that was up there in age, late 30s. So, I feel like Marion Reneau could definitely come in here and get the win. And, since she's an underdog, and I feel like she's definitely the more proven girl, and all this thing I was talking about with Macy in terms of her saying she, had a concussion and all that, I just, I'm leaning towards Marion. So I'm actually going to go with Marion Reneau. But, yeah, this is a fight I've been going back and forth on and really have, very little confidence. So, yeah, take it as you must. But I'm going to go with Marion.
Right on. Locke, what do you think?
I was hoping I was going to be the one being called out for being crazy and shit, and Guru coming out here affecting Reneau. God damn it, man. But yeah, I see everything that he's saying, and I want to back that up, right? Like you just look through the level of competition that they've both gone through. Cody already did it, but like it's just night and day who they faced. And then when you even look closer at Chiasson's record, like the one fight that she, outside of the Shanna Young fight, when she went to a decision earlier in her career, her second fight, she beat this girl named Allison Schmidt. That girl has not fought since that time, and that was May of 2018. And then the other time she went to a decision, the next time was Lena Landsberg. She loses that fight. She goes to a decision with Shanna Young, where in that third round, she does not look good. She still wins the round, but like she's muscling everything. She's gassing out. She's making these mistakes. She's overextending. She's just been getting away on her strength and size and just bullying opponents. And I don't think that's going to cut it when you start fighting fighters that are much technically better than you, right? Like, I think the best fighter that she's fought to this point is Pani Kianzad. And again, like Guru said, that was at 145. She gets taken down by Sarah Moras. She dusts Gina Mazzani quickly. But then when she tries to do her game plan against a girl like Lena Landsberg, who was born in the clinch, right? She struggles. She has success in that first round and then just massively drops off in that second and third round. So if she's not able to get Marion out of there early, I think she's going to be in some trouble in those second and third rounds. I think that technically speaking, Marion is the better fighter, more technical on the feet, has the black belt in jiu-jitsu. Even though she's 43, I think if we look past that, she's still very live to go out there and win this fight. So, yeah, I'm going to be backing Marion. I'm looking at initially, I was just looking at playing that round 3 prop, which is around plus 1,600, plus 1,700. But even her submission is like plus 750. I think that's a very solid spot. Or even just taking her inside the distance, which I think she could definitely get a finish here, is plus 400. So I think instead of taking the sub prop, I'll go with the inside the distance and then sprinkle a little bit more on that round 3. But 4 out of the 9 wins in Reneau's career have been in the second and third round. So she definitely gets stronger as the fight goes on, just as we saw in the Kunitskaya fight. Even though she came up short in that fight, she put it on. on Yana in that third round. So if Chiasson is unsuccessful in getting her out of there in that first round, it's going to get very, very shitty for Macy Chiasson. So yeah, I'm leaning on Reneau here. I feel like I'm going to be reiterating what Cody and Guru were saying if I kept going any longer on Reneau here. But yeah, I do like Reneau. I think that she wins round 3 sub. If you have access to that specific prop, I think that's a very good spot. But yeah, I think that Reneau pulls the upset here. And the women's MMA whisperer continues to roll on for 2021, baby. Let's go.
Oh man, what a fight. I'm gonna take the younger, bigger fighter in Macy Chiasson, but you guys, I am not high on Macy Chiasson. I don't think she's very good at all. But at the same time, I can't bring myself to bet on a 43-year-old on a 3-fight losing streak. I mean, nothing you guys have said is untrue. You guys are right. I think Marion is the technically better fighter. The resumes do not compare. It's Marion all day. I just can't bring myself to do it. From a betting standpoint, a total pass. For some reason, I'm going to pick Macy Chiasson. This is just not a fight that I'm interested in gambling at all. It's going to be a pass, but I'll pick Macy Chiasson to win the fight by being the bigger, younger fighter. I really don't know. I don't got a strong read on this one. Macy Chiasson just come up short. She loses this fight. At this point, Locke, you're betting on Reneau. I hope Reneau wins. Okay, from my boy Locke here.
Thank you,
but it's gonna have to be a pass for me, man. I just can't. I can't do it. All right, here we go. That was actually our last prelim. We're on the main card. They're giving us a heavyweight slugfest. Tuivasa versus the very short notice replacement, Harry Hunsucker. Guru, I think you're up on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Cody, he likes to say an apple pie shitter, right? Why do I feel like Tuivasa would be like the ultimate apple pie shitter? I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, looking at this fight, it's like Harry Hunsucker. You see him against Jared Vanderaa, and I mean, he's throwing bobs for the first couple of minutes, right? He clips him a couple times, but once he gets taken down, it's like the fight was basically over. Jared Vanderaa just destroyed him on the ground. I don't think Tuivasa is going to try to take him down. So, I mean, I do think it'll be interesting in the first round. I mean, I feel like I was looking at Harry Hunsucker plus 800 in round 1. I mean, that's his only way he could win. So it's like, I mean, maybe you could throw a little bit of money out there. But to be honest, it's like I think he's only beaten one guy with the winning record, and he does look kind of fast. He could, close the distance, throws big shots, but super wild. I mean, not technical at all. And I mean, he does like to take guys down, and he'll hit like Kimuras and Americanas, but I feel like his grappling isn't on the level to even take down a guy like Ty. So I also see him get tired. And I feel like Ty, if he can just put his weight on him in the clinch a little bit early on, maybe he could, wear him down and then knock him out. I mean, but yeah, I'm not trusting Tuivasa at like a minus 400 or whatever number he is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like stranger things have happened, but yeah, I feel like Tuivasa round 1 after Hunsucker gets a little bit tired, but yeah, I mean, who knows what'll happen there. I mean, Hunsucker's taking the fight on real short notice. I remember when he was going to be on the Contender Series, I said that, I feel like this guy would never make it to the UFC. So he proved me wrong there already. So, I mean, man, let's see. Hopefully, let's see if he can get the win. But I'm going to go with Tuivasa.
I feel you there. Locke, what do you got?
Yeah, Guru's on the point here, man. Tuivasa could absolutely shit all over your apple pie and then some. This is going to be a slugfest. It is what it is, right? Both guys are going to go out there and try to throw hammers. I think we'll see slightly more technical work from Tuivasa, but not by much. I mean, these guys are still going out there and looking to take each other's heads off. We know Harry Hunsucker, hasn't been past that 4-minute mark. How he looks in minute 5, minute 6, minute 7. I'm scared the guy might have a freaking heart attack. Like, the guy does not look like he can go out there and go longer than a round and a half if he needs to. So I think the spot here is the under 1.5. It's probably around like minus 220 at this point in time. Yesterday when I did the show with Cody, the fight doesn't go to decision was minus 265. I woke up this morning, it's like minus 600 now, and completely understandable. Like, there's no way this is going 15 minutes. So instead of paying the chalk on Tuivasa, just pay the chalk on either the under 1.5 or even the fight doesn't go to decision if you want to bet this fight at all. I think even if you're feeling super risky, go out there and put some money on a Hunsucker in round 1. And I think that those are some crazy odds too, right? We've seen Tuivasa, I think, finish only one time in the past to Junior Dos Santos, but that doesn't mean, heavyweights, these guys hit very hard. Hunsucker has a ton of knockouts on his record too. And I don't think any man is safe from getting knocked out. So I will pick Tuivasa, obviously, just because the experience difference and all that, and how long he's been in the UFC, and technically speaking, he should be the better guy. And not to mention, he has cardio longer than 2.5 to 3 minutes. So I'll go with Tuivasa here, but I think he gets it done in the first round. I don't see this even reaching the second round. Let me quickly just see what the fight won't start round 2 is -170. Not too shabby. Fight won't start round 3, -380. But Tuivasa in round 1, you got -135. That's obvious, right? You got Hunsucker in round 1 at +800. So if you're risky, go for that. But yeah, if this fight even reaches the second round, I'd be surprised. But I'll go with Tuivasa first round KO.
Sounds about right to me. Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's obviously got to be Tai Tuivasa here. With Tai Tuivasa, it's easy to write him off. He's the fat guy with the shoey, and he only takes his career half seriously, and he's kind of a joke and this and that. But again, this is a guy that came to the UFC and was a highly touted prospect. I mean, he was a former rugby professional. He's a great athlete. I mean, for a 265-pound man, his mobility is very, very good. It's just one has to wonder how much is he actually taking these training camps seriously. But he goes 3-0 to start off his UFC career, including a big win over Andrei Arlovsky. You know, sky's the limit for him. Things are going good. They give him a headlining fight against Junior Dos Santos. He's still young in his career. He's headlining against JDS. He wins the first round against a former world title champion. You know, a guy that knocked out Cain Velasquez on Fox. Like, a guy that's been around. You get knocked out by him, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. Then you drive Blagoy Ivanov. Like, what? I mean, the 2008 Sambo world champion, guy that beat Fedor Emelianenko, guy that got stabbed in the heart in a Bulgarian nightclub, lived to tell the tale, that guy. Not a good fight now, is it? World Series of Fighting champion. And then the Sergey Spivak fight, that's where everybody writes him off. No good. But again, Spivak's a guy that's come a long way, man. Add a lot of wrinkles to his game. In that fight, Ty just keeps giving up takedowns. Gets taken down 6 times, keeps getting back up, and just gives up the takedown again. But if you want to stand in front of this guy and throw hands, I mean, he's got that Samoan attitude. He's going to let his hands go. He's got a lot of power, and he's got a pretty solid chin. Junior Dos Santos knocked him out. Big deal. Only guy to do it. I remember before he came to the UFC, he got TKO'd by Ismail Lazar. Okay, dude, I get he's 5'8", 300 pounds. But Ismail Lazar is a banger, man. Guy fought Rico Verhoeven for the Glory title. Like, you're telling me he was fighting bums as a kickboxer? No, he's always fought the best. It's just, again, he's still young. But 28 years old, I think he's getting better. It looks like physically he's taking it a little more seriously. And the Stefan Struve fight, it just seemed like he was a little more dialed in. Now, mind you, Struve, 7 feet tall, got a bad chin. You know, he's now retired from the UFC. I get that we can, make excuses that it's not a quality win, but I think it's a huge confidence boost because he's on a 3-fight losing streak. And he's a guy that's confidence-based. He comes to the UFC. He's drinking shoeies. He's having a time. Everything's going good. How do you rebound from that? Backs up against the wall in that fight with Stefan Struve. So to go out there, get the win, get the first-round knockout win, a second left, man, because that was a massive sweat for the first-round KO prop. But comes through, gets the win. I honestly think that you'll see a better version of him. So instead of going out there and booking him some stupid fight, like the UFC would normally give him Romanov, or let's give him Tom Aspinall, or give him Chris Daukaus, or they'll just give him, a bad matchup. They give him Dante Mays. That was a good matchup for him. Long, boxy, rangy guy, striker versus striker, going to be a fun fight. Unfortunately, Mays falls out. Now you get Harry Hunsucker. So Harry Hunsucker is 32 years old. He's fought nearly exclusively in the Kentucky regional scene. But here's the problem with Harry Hunsucker. Yeah, he's got a puncher's chance because he's a heavyweight. We all know heavyweights, they let their hands go. Yeah, we saw what he was able to do on the Contender Series against Jared Vanderaa. Simply let his hands go. But guys, we can't get away from the fact that, he's got a very, very, very padded record. He shows that he's a 2-time world champion for Hard Knocks. Again, it's a Kentucky regional show. Jordan Mitchell, that's his challenger for the title, is 9-14. He also defended the title against Tony Parker, who's 15-17. His most notable win on his career is probably Corey Moon, who's 4-3. Because at least the guy had a winning record, right? He's 4-3, one more than he lost. Harry Hunsucker, and I'm not going to make the Harry Hun sucks joke, but he's fought a very, very low level. Now he gets to the Contender Series. There's no fucking chance he wins this fight. There's no chance this man's getting a contract to go to the UFC. But he does what he has to do. He lets his hands go. Listen, you know what you got to do. You're a heavyweight. You're 32 years old. Your opportunity's not coming back. Dana's sitting right there. You got to go and let your hands go. Because even if you lose, if you put on a show, there's a chance. So he lets his hands go. He nails Vanderaa a few times. Vanderaa takes him. And then classic Harry Hunsucker, all 3 of his pro losses are by first-round knockout. When he doesn't put you away, you put him away. So that's all fair and good. He did enough to impress Dana enough that they'll give him a fight on 3 days' notice. And so I know Harry Hunsucker's manager. And, all week on Facebook, it's like, dude, check this. How cool is this? And it's a Tapology that he's on. dude, how cool is this? DraftKings. You can pick. These guys are fucking ecstatic that it's like he just made it. You know, let alone that they'd actually think he's going to win. That just he made it. That's the huge opportunity. That's the huge moment. And it's not like Tuivasa is a top 5 guy in the world. It's not like he's a 9-1 underdog. He's got absolutely no chance. It's heavyweights. And he's going to come out and he's going to let his hands go. And that's all you can expect from him. But I would think that 9.5 out of 10 times he lets his hands go. It doesn't yield the results that he's looking for, and Tai puts him down. So I'm looking at Tai. I'm looking at Tai by knockout. I'm looking at Tai under 1.5 and probably chase that knockout prop as well. Again, this fight got announced Wednesday. Thursday, a lot of us bet on it. Now it's only Friday, and like the line's already shifted pretty far off. So, you know, this is going to be a fun fight. This is going to be an exciting fight for as long as it lasts. I just don't think it's going to last very long. So I agree with Locke. Under 1.5's the move, but yeah, well, what is it now? Like the odds are just getting out of proportion. So I think the official pick probably spent too much time talking about Harry Hunsucker at this point. But yeah, the official pick would be Tai Tuivasa inside the distance, specifically by knockout.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. It's Tai Tuivasa inside the distance. The under 1.5, I feel like, is just absolute cash money. Harry Hunsucker, Locke, you said it, man. Win, lose, or draw. Well, there is no draw. This guy hasn't gone beyond 4 minutes. Why not buy yourself an extra 3.5 minutes insurance? Take that under 1.5. But for me, Tai Tuivasa, I think he goes out here. I think he clobbers this dude. I think it's a big step down. Harry Hunsucker, I mean, the guy's got a few wins by sub. I feel like, he does come in and throw. Maybe he catches Tai. Maybe he hurts him. Maybe he subs him. Either way, though, give me that under 1.5, man. Let me cover every base. Let me get a half round of insurance. But also Tai Tuivasa inside the distance. That's the one for me. Tai Tuivasa by KO, absolutely. Okie doke. Here we go. Max Griffin, Kenan Song, Lock. Hit us with it.
Yeah, I do like Max Griffin here at -200. I don't think that's too bad of a price tag. One of the more unreliable guys for sure, but I feel like stylistically that this is a great matchup for him. He can go out there and, get the takedowns if he needs to, like this Lima Madaya fight goes out there and secures 6 takedowns against him. With Kenan Song, porous takedown defense, right? So why not go out there and exploit it? Try to, nullify the amount of risk that you're taking by going into this fight against a heavy hitter like Kenan. Let's not take everything away from Kenan here. He does, have a ton of power in his hands, just as he showed in his last fight against Callum Potter, where he just deaded him. But what Callum Potter was successful in was getting him down. And I think that if Max Griffin can go out there and kind of implement a similar type of game plan, he should be able to win this fight pretty comfortably. The one fight that, if he doesn't want to go for takedowns, the one fight that he can look at and kind of take some notes from is the Alex Morono and Kenan Song fight, right? You get Alex Morono, mainly a grappler, but for some reason just wants to go out there and just throw hands, still going out there for 15 minutes and out striking Kenan Song with just volume, output, and movement. And I think that Max Griffin just showed that in his last fight against Ramiz Brahimaj, where he's able to go out there for, close to 13 minutes before tearing this guy's ear off his head, just outstruck him the entire time. And we saw a solid gas tank from him. He seemed like he could go, at least a solid 15 minutes with that type of game plan. And I feel like that's what you have to go in here with Kenan. Kenan does have fight-ending power, though. So that's something that he's going to have to very much be wary of. So clinch up with him. If he can get the fight to the ground, which I think he will be able to, let's go that route, and just drag this fight out, drain the energy from Kenan, kind of like the Derek Krantz round 2. Let's go out there and do that. But Krantz just didn't have the cardio to continue to do that for 15 minutes, whereas I feel like a guy like Max Griffin probably can. So, again, not the greatest run that Griffin's on right now, especially with that loss that he had to Thiago Alves several fights ago. This late in like the 2010s to be losing to my guy Thiago Alves, probably not the greatest look on your record, but he still has some solid skill. And I feel like that Kenan is more so of a KO or a bust kind of guy. I don't see him subbing Max Griffin. I don't see him winning a decision, just waiting for a shot to pop, unless he goes out there and knocks him down twice. One in at least 2 rounds, then yeah, that's probably how he wins a decision. But I think that Griffin is going to put the volume on him. I think he's going to stay moving, or at least get in close enough to get the takedowns and ride this one out. So yeah, I like Max Griffin here. I'm not too mad at that -200, to be honest, but even him to win by decision, which I think is his best path to victory, you got Griffin by decision at +105. That's not too bad of a line either. So I do like Griffin here. Stay on that bike, or at least get your wrestling singlet out. But I think he gets the victory here just by decision.
Right on. Cody Saftic, what do you think?
Okay, well, I first and foremost want to say, in what world did he actually lose to Thiago Alves?
It's on the record. It's on the record.
Bro, he outstruck him 112 to 83, took him down twice, knocked him down, and MMA decisions. Wrestling Observer, Mania, Sherdog, Bloody Elbow, MMAJA, BJPen.com, PointStars.com, MMA Takeover, MMA Sucka, Bloody Elbow, Flow Combat, Bloody Elbow again, MMA Uno, Tapology, and Sherdog all scored the fight for Max Griffin. Here's the thing, though. Takes the fight in Brazil, right? Why would you do that as an American against a legendary Brazilian fighter? Why would you do that as an American and gets the old Brazilian stiff job? So, like, I know what you're saying. Like, on paper, it's like, Max Griffin's not exactly a world beater, but I'll pay credits where credit's due. And yeah, he did not lose that fight. And that's one thing about Max Griffin that I'm actually going to give him overall here. I mean, for as much as you can point some flaws in his game, he's a little bit older now. He's 35 years old. He's 1-2 in his last 3. He's 2-4 in his last 6. Like, it doesn't look good as the resolve goes. The Thiago Alves fight, he gets robbed, right? The Alex Morono fight, pretty strong argument there. He gets robbed. The Cowboy Oliveira fight, god damn, dude, loses a split decision, but again, gave a good account of himself. And then the Ramiz Brahimaj, shout out, we got Brahimaj's ear in the comment section, which they're no longer one anymore. They're most definitely separated. It was like a super bad beating, but what you see with Max Griffin, the same thing he kind of does in the Mike Perry fight, is that he is a good long-rangey striker. He jabs from the outside pretty well. He's accurate. I wouldn't say it's the biggest power punching, but I mean, it's a lot of accuracy. He just chips away at you. It's hard to break through that. It's hard to get through that jab. And that's one thing he does pretty good, is that he's really good at using that range. If you are the better striker, if you are the superior striker, this is what I like about him, is that he'll mix in those takedowns. In the Alex Oliveira fight, he scores 2 takedowns over Cowboy Oliveira. The Morono fight, he waited a little too long to really start engaging that grappling, but in the third round, you see him at his best. He does score 4 takedowns overall over Alex Morono. Pretty solid effort. And then I know Locke talked about the Zelim Imadaev fight where he scores 6 takedowns. Now, Zelim Imadaev, the Z-Man, who was supposed to be a Zabit version 2.0, which obviously never panned out. It's like, yeah, okay, I probably don't really want to strike with this guy, so you go to the wrestling. That's the key. You're able to mix it up. This is mixed martial arts. It's not just a striking battle. And I would really hope with Max Griffin, yes, he can strike with Song Kenan, but I mean, if you look at the guy, you look at his tape, you look at where he fights his best, it's like he is a power puncher. The UFC has done a tremendous job which matching him extremely light. He shows wins in the UFC over Bobby Nash, released from the organization, Hector Aldana, released from the organization, Derek Krantz, released from the organization, and Callum Potter, released from the organization. All 4 of his wins are guys no longer with the promotion. His losses to Alex Morono, a fringe 20 guy. We know where Song Kenan's at. He's actually one of the few guys that signed to the UFC on a 2-fight losing streak. How'd you even get here in the first place? I think that at best, they match him up in these fun, lower-level fights. He'll go out there, he'll have a banger, he'll put on a show. Max Griffin, to a lot of people, he'll appear as lower level, but again, I think he's got a refined skill set. The fight stays standing. He's not going to be out of his element. He'll use the jab. He'll stay to the outside. He'll hopefully rack up some strikes. But the key to winning here is go for those takedowns. Hector Aldana's taking this guy down. You mean you can't tell me Max Griffin can't? He absolutely can. It's whether or not he goes to that game plan right away or if he plays with his food a little bit. So I got Griffin. I think this one's going to go the distance. So regardless, I'm going to take fight goes the distance. I'm going to take Griffin by decision. But yeah, it will be a little bit sweat knowing that Song Kenan is going to let those hands fly. And he's got power, but Griffin's got a good chin as well. So I'm not overly worried. The pick will be Griffin by decision.
Right on. Guru, what do you think, man?
Yeah, this is one I'm pretty confident in, and I'm going with Max Griffin too. They kind of said a lot of, the main points, but when you look at it, I mean, I do feel like for Kenan Song, I think he's going to be faster. That's one thing that I think, Max Griffin is kind of slow, but it helps that, he has a long reach for the division and he has a really good jab. So he just uses his jab a lot of the time and, is 1-2 and he's able to beat guys that way. But with this fight, like they said, I mean, Kenan Song, the big hole in his game is he doesn't check leg kicks on the feet. So I feel like Max Griffin should throw leg kicks. And the other thing is he just doesn't defend takedowns very well. He always goes for the guillotine instead of defending the takedown. And, I just feel like he's way, way overmatched on the ground against Max Griffin. Not that Max Griffin's going to be able to finish him, but I don't see Kenan Song being able to get back up to his feet if he gets taken down. And I think that, the takedowns will be pretty easy for Max Griffin. With Song Kenan, he does have the power right hand. But Max Griffin, he's shown throughout his career that he's pretty durable. He's gotten dropped, came back, and, I feel like he has a big cardio advantage as well. Kenan Song's one of these guys, in my opinion, that slows down too as the fight goes on. I think that Max does a better job of pacing himself. And, Kenan's from Asia. He's coming over to the United States, which a lot of the times the Asian fighters that travel, they don't really perform as well. So I feel like that could be a factor too. So I just feel like Max Griffin, he'll probably get the win by decision. He's not really a power puncher. only has that one knockout in the UFC. I mean, in his last fight, he got the finish, but that was kind of, a freak thing. So I feel like Song is pretty durable. So if Max Griffin does take the path of least resistance like we think with the grappling, I see it probably being a, pretty easy decision win for Max.
I'm with you guys. I'm on Max Griffin. I think decision's probably the most likely, right? Keeping it short and sweet. Kenan Song, I feel like he's gonna need that. He's gonna need that big shot, right? And Max Griffin's not a guy that seems susceptible to that big shot. I mean, he's been TKO'd once to Colby Covington, and that was a series of ground and pound strikes. It's not like he was separated from his consciousness or anything. He's shown good durability. I think he's gonna have more output. I think he can stay on the outside, but the most clear and obvious path to victory for Max Griffin is just take this guy down. And I think he's going to. Max Griffin, I feel like he showed us some better ring IQ, some better fight IQ. I like what I've seen out of the guy. Honestly, earlier this week, I felt like Song Kenan could be a good underdog play, man. Put in the work, watch the tape, just not the case, man. I'm with you guys, and I'm fairly confident. I think Max Griffin cruises in this one if he could just avoid one of those big power shots. So give me Max Griffin in this spot. Next fight, 135, Adrian Yanez versus Gustavo Lopez. Cody, I think you're up on this one.
Okay, so I really like Adrian Yanez. The fact that the line hasn't really moved, in fact, it seems to be swinging back towards Lopez is a little bit concerning just because, why are we not on Adrian Yanez? I mean, he's young. He's another guy coming out of Fortis, 27 years old, got really good hands. I mean, we've seen that in the Contender Series. He gets a quick win over Brady Huang. You see him in the UFC. He gets a quick win over Victor Rodriguez. It's low level, and he's going out there and dusting low level. So maybe that's the concern. Maybe the concern is this guy hasn't really been pushed outside of those really in the last couple of fights. I mean, he hasn't gone outside of the first couple of minutes. And what happens if he doesn't get the knockout? But you go back to his entire record. I mean, he's super durable. All three of his pro losses are by decision. Two of them by split decision. He lost to Domingo Pilarte by split. He lost to Miles Johns by split. Both of them end up making it to the UFC, and most of them are mostly grapplers. So does Yanez struggle a little bit with takedown defense? I would say so. He does give up takedowns, but I mean, he's really good at scrambling back up to his feet. And when he does get back up to his feet, he's dynamic. He's fast. He'll throw spinning. He'll throw a flying knee. He'll throw a nice little calf kick. He'll throw that leg kick. He'll stick on you. But he's got blazing hand speed. I really like him a lot. I'm going to bank on him here. And what I compare him to is not the same level, I guess, or not the same style, but a couple of weeks ago, remember Ronnie Lawrence? And that was my too good to be true pricing. He sat at minus 160. He didn't move. He kind of just sat at minus 160 the whole time. And then when the fight started, it's always one of those, I should have put more on him. But it was like, shit, this guy really was one of these good little prospects. But Dana saw in Contender Series, because Dana was pretty adamant that, like, this guy looks like a next generation talent. And he's young. He's very inexperienced, but he moves to ATT. He's getting the reps in. This guy's going to be a future contender in the division. I feel the same thing with Yanez. He's still only 27. He's put himself in a good spot to succeed, get better, make those improvements. This is a good spot for him. Gustavo Lopez, he's a Vegas guy. He's out of Extreme Couture currently. He is durable. He does have some game to him, but I just think Yanez is going to be too fast. He's going to chip away at him, and he'll get the better of striking exchanges, should win this fight. But then you get that gut feeling where it's like, you know what? Lopez is durable, first and foremost. We saw him against Merab Dvalishvili. He just got tossed around like a sack of potatoes, but he never quit. He worked his way back up to his feet. He tried to do the best he could, just was massively outgunned. And then his next fight against Anthony Burchak, he stands his ground. He lets his hands go. So again, if he goes out there against Yanez and his chin's solid enough to take some of this damage, he's able to push back on this kid, then maybe he can make a fight out of this as well. Maybe he switches up the wrestling himself. So the spot that I like most confidently in this fight is the over 1.5 rounds, minus 145. Honestly, with Lopez, he's super durable. So I think that if Yanez goes out, and I'm hoping Yanez gets the victory, this is who I'm backing. But even if he does go take him out, I don't think that Gustavo Lopez is going to fold over in less than a round and a half. And then flip side to that, if Gustavo Lopez is capable of springing this upset, it's going to be grinding Adrian Yanez. It's going to be tiring him out. It's going to be getting him to the second round, getting him to the third round, mixing in some takedowns, tiring him, bringing him to a spot that he's never been before, and squeaking out one of these infamous split decisions. We know that's the way that Adrian Yanez has lost. Take him down, make this a close fight. Hopefully the judges agree with you. If Lopez goes that way, this is a close fight. It's closely contested. It's going to decision. I'm in on that 1.5. So that's what I like. It's minus 145. So it's the best price that I saw in the fight straight up. And like anything, it's MMA. Are you going to sweat for the first round and a half, hoping that somebody doesn't hit the other guy or head kick up? Absolutely. It's the fight game. But I think both guys are durable enough that this one should shake out to over 7.5 minutes. So I'm hitting that over 1.5.
Right on. Guru, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I feel like this is an interesting fight because, like Cody said, I mean, if you look throughout Yanez's career, the guys that he's lost to are all predominantly grapplers. So, I mean, this is, a good test for him here. And I feel like Gustavo Lopez, he he's a guy that on the feet, I mean, he has power himself. You've seen him kind of drop Jose Alday in the first round. He dropped, Burchak in the first round. So he has some pop in his hands too. But I do feel like Yanez is way more technical on the feet. Even though Yanez, he's kind of low volume a little bit because he likes to counter strike. He has that, hands down, and he really likes to, just touch you a little bit with the jab or with some low kicks, wait for you to go, and then he'll, throw some real sharp counter punches. He could knock you out. He had showed that nice high kick in his last fight. And I do feel like, his grappling is okay. I mean, we've seen, certain guys be able to take him down, but he does have good get-ups. I do feel like, though, it's going to be interesting if Lopez could take him down early on, because I feel like he's better on the ground than those guys like Miles Johns, Domingo Pilarte. Lopez throws big ground and pound, and, he is, I feel like, going to maybe be able to do more damage to a guy like Yanez if he can get it to the ground and control a little bit better than a guy like Miles Johns did potentially. But I do feel like a thing about Yanez that I like is he's had a few 5-round fights where I like his pacing and I like, his cardio. And I feel like on the opposite end, Gustavo Lopez kind of slows down a little bit after that first round. He tends to get a little bit tired. He fights at kind of a frantic pace. So I more feel like he's going to maybe make that first round competitive where he might even win the first round if he can get a takedown. But as the fight goes on, I think that Yanez is going to start to find his range, get more comfortable on the feet, and we're going to see Lopez start to shoot in and either get stuffed or Yanez get back up to his feet pretty quickly. And then I think, Lopez will start to slow down. And this is another fight where I think a third round finish is potential. I don't know what the line is. I think it's probably over plus 1,000. So I think that's something that Yanez could potentially do in this fight as well. And, Lopez, I do feel like he has a chance here if he can implement his grappling, but the pick for me is going to be Yanez.
Right on. Lock, who you got?
Yeah, that round 3 prop on Yanez is plus 850. Still not too bad of a price line given everything that we know about both fighters here. But yeah, Gru's on the ball here. Like even in those Miles Johns and Domingo Pilarte fights, you see the slowdown, the wrestling start to slow down for those guys against Yanez, and Yanez is really start to take over in those fights. Here against Gustavo, I think Gru's right. I think he'll probably get that takedown in the first round, but then it's only going to get harder, and it's going to only get harder to close the distance against Yanez, right? I think Lopez, the way that he strikes it's very wide and looping, and he crashes forward and kind of leaves his chin out there. And we know that Yanez is a very precise striker. He can go out there and find that chin when he needs to. His hands are amazing. Even Paul Felder kind of compared him to a young Jorge Masvidal, and it's hard not to see it when you look back at like early Strikeforce days from Masvidal and the way that he strikes, and he's just so tight with his boxing and his hands. And we definitely see that with Yanez. His hand speed is great. He does get hit a little bit, but if he's able to keep his footwork good and staying out of the way of the big shots of Lopez, or at least countering properly, he should be able to find the chin of Lopez. So the line is a little bit too wide for me to go out there and bet on a guy like Yanez. I feel like he is kind of proven, especially with the competition that he's faced on the regional scene compared to most guys who just come into the UFC, not facing guys like Miles Johns and Domingo Pilarte and even Levi Molds, who's another guy that's very, a big attraction on the regional scene. Most guys don't have that type of tough road coming to the UFC, but that's what Yanez had to go through. And then especially on the Contender Series, the combination that he put Brady Wong out with, good Lord, probably one of the best combinations you'll ever see, countering a hook coming his way and then following up with that finishing shot. And then the Victor Rodriguez fight. I don't even bother looking at that, right? Another AFC product hyped up, comes to the UFC and just gets absolutely dusted by Yanez. And it didn't even look good, to be honest, right? So, I do like Yanez here. I'm not sure if I'll bet him at that price, but I think he's probably going to knock out Lopez, probably round 2 or round 3 when Lopez starts to crash forward, try to close the distance, try to maybe dive for some legs, try to get a takedown, because I don't see him out striking Yanez here. I'd be very surprised if he goes out there and picks apart Yanez. But I think the best way for Lopez to win this fight is accrue that control time, clinch up against the cage, get the takedowns. But I just don't think he'll be successful long enough, like maybe just the first round. And then after that, another possible live betting spot, right? If after round 1, you see Lopez pick up that first round, Yanez should be able to start stuffing takedowns in that second and third round and then really start to put it on Lopez. So I like Yanez. I'll take him probably second or third round KO. It's just more so of the striking deficiencies of Lopez, who just leaves himself a little bit too wide open, and he can't be doing that against a precision striker like Yanez. So I'll go Yanez second or third round KO.
One thing I just want to throw this in really quick. Just one thing that's kind of interesting, I suppose, with Adrian Yanez is he fights on Contender Series against Brady Huang, and then he accepted a UFC debut like 6 weeks later against Aaron Phillips. Aaron Phillips pulled out and he never got a full training camp, right? He fought like 6 weeks after the Contender Series. So here you can make the argument at least that it's like he's getting a full training camp coming into this fight. Like, should he not look better? But again, I mean, that shit rarely matters once the cage door closes and the ref says good fight. But I would expect to see a better version of Yanez with a full camp instead of just relying on these quick KOs.
Absolutely. And I'm on Yanez as well. You know, you guys, there's not much left to say, right? Yanez, he's got great hands, man. This guy can really throw. Not only that, you know, he can follow up with a strong head kick. Not a lot of wasted motion with this guy. I feel like he's a very efficient striker. If he's throwing, he's landing, and he's landing solid. He's landing hard. I will say this, man, Lopez, you know, his path to victory, you guys all laid it out. He's going to need to go in here and make this a grinding, dirty fight, take Yanez down, use that ground and pound, use that heavy top game. Lopez knows this. He came in, I can't remember if it was earlier today or yesterday, but at some point Lopez told Yanez, listen, I'm going to drown you. So I think Lopez knows his path to victory is to go out here, take this fight to the mat. I think he's going to have some success at some point. However, I do see Yanez getting up. I think the wrestling from Lopez is going to slow down a little bit. I think Yanez is going to start finding the timing, start finding the shots with the hands. I think Yanez finishes this one second or third round. So I'm with you guys. Give me Yanez. Is he a little unproven? I guess so, but man, this dude's looked pretty spectacular so far. At the same time, man, Lopez is pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if he can really go out there and use his game plan. I think he could win this fight, but it's going to be Yanez for me via KO. All right, here we go. Cheyanne Buys versus Montserrat Ruiz. I think it's Guru up to the plate.
Yeah, so we got the second of the Buys family here with Cheyanne, and I'm actually going to go with Cheyanne in this one. I feel like, she's actually going to win this fight pretty easily. When I look at Montserrat Ruiz, I feel like she's decent on the feet. I mean, she's kind of slow, but I feel like she's down to kind of brawl, and that's the one way that I think that the fight could be close, because you do see Cheyanne Buys, I mean, in her fight on the Contender Series, she's like cussing at the girl, and she definitely likes to kind of get into it and mix it up. So if she just trades big hooks, I mean, it does seem like Montserrat maybe, is maybe the more powerful girl, but both girls actually hit pretty hard. And the thing about Montserrat, though, I mean, to me, it's like she only is kind of a one-trick pony where she tries to, hit that head and arm throw, and she has those submissions from the scarf hold position. But other than that, I just don't really see, her being very good. I think Buys has a Taekwondo base, so I feel like she's going to be way better with the footwork if she wants to keep it on the feet and kind of play on the outside. And I think she could even, grapple with Montserrat, take her down, get on top. But to be honest, I haven't really seen any footage of Montserrat defend takedowns or on her back. So maybe, that she'll be good on bottom. So I don't know, but I just feel like Buys is, a good prospect. I think she looked good on the Contender Series. I think she's the better athlete. And Montserrat, I mean, she's taking the fight on short notice. She's very inactive too. I mean, it seems like she fights like once every year. And her record, I mean, she's only fought Danielle Taylor, and her other win she got on in Invicta. So she kind of has a padded record as well. So I just feel like Cheyanne should be able to defend the grappling, maybe even get on top and win the striking. So I see her getting the win probably by decision.
Right on. Locke, who you got?
Yeah, I'm not willing to go out there and put minus 350 on Cheyanne Buys here, right? We've seen this where like a girl is highly touted coming off the Contender Series, and then she kind of falls flat. But luckily for her, I think this is a good matchup. But I still want to go out there and see if she's actually up to the task when she's fighting in the UFC. Ruiz, a couple more fights on her record, Invicta FC product as well. The only time I think we saw Buys in the Invicta FC cage, she did actually end up losing that fight, but. I just think she's better everywhere. Maybe a slight edge to Ruiz in terms of the jiu-jitsu. She is very crafty on the ground, especially in the last fight that we saw where she got like a key lock from the scarf hold position. Very, very impressive work from her there. But with Buys, right? Like she strikes well, she moves well, she does good things in the clinch. She puts her forehead right on the chin and the chest of her opponent, kind of breaking her posture and really just screwing them up in that situation and letting that dirty boxing go and really just controlling her opponents just like she did on the Contender Series. But again, I just don't want to pay this type of price on somebody that's so new and still so green and could potentially fall flat in their debut. Ruiz, coming in, she seems like a scrapper. She seems like somebody that can go out there and kind of just move forward and not really give a shit what Baez is bringing to her. But then you see that Danielle Taylor fight, and you're just like, ooh, this seems like a perfect kind of blueprint that you can put out there for Baez to go out there and beat a girl like Ruiz. So I think it's going to be tough for her to overcome that size discrepancy. I believe that Baez will have a 3-inch height and reach advantage in this fight. I think that's going to come into play. And if Ruiz can't get this fight to the ground, which I think she will struggle with, and Gru talked about it, her favorite takedown is that head and arm choke or a head and arm throw. It really exposes the back, and I feel like a girl like Baez could definitely exploit that and probably end up on the back of Ruiz and maybe pull off a submission. I believe Ruiz is a higher level belt in jiu-jitsu, but she also trains at MMA Kings with Rafael Cordero in them, so I'm sure they have her ready to go, and hopefully they show her more than just that head and arm throw takedown, so she can actually get this into her realm. But this fight's tough. I'm not willing to lay the juice on Baez, nor am I willing to take the risk on the big dog here. If you want to pay any juice at all, maybe just take the over. Who knows if the over hits there? But I'll take Baez. I'll take her to win by decision. But I'm more interested in seeing this fight from a fan's perspective rather than a gambler's perspective, just to see what we're truly getting with Cheyanne Baez. So is Ruiz going to truly be the one that shows us what she brings to the table? Maybe not, but at least we'll get more of a glimpse from this fighter who only has 5 or 6 fights on her record, right? So let's go out there, see what she brings to the table, and if she's able to dispose of Ruiz as a -350 and looks like a -350 favorite, then I'm cool with that. So I'll go with Baez by decision, but I want no action in this fight.
Ooh, I hear that. Cody Saftic, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to fade Baez and take Kate Hansen. Unfortunately, now you got Montserrat Ruiz, and that's the MMA game, right? Changes completely. You go from being an underdog to being a 3.5 to 1 favorite over Ruiz. So now do we jump on her? I just think that the line's too gone. Even when it opened at 250 for Cheyanne Baez, I thought it was a little bit too much. But again, now that it's 350, you just kind of want no piece of it. Okay, let's take fight goes the distance. And again, it's not a very good price. So I would hate to cowardly have to say I'm going to pass on this one, but I will. The official pick will be Baez. I do believe that she's got way better output. She's got some good aggression. She's able to back her opponent towards the cage. And the thing with Montserrat Ruiz being 5 feet tall is that she has a 60-inch reach, so she doesn't really let her hands go all that much, and she comes up short on a lot of her punches. But she loves the head and arm throw. I mean, I'm sure everybody that's taped her has seen the same thing. She goes out there, she's physically strong, she gets a hold of you, she whips you to the ground. In women's MMA, the head and arm throw is actually proven to be extremely effective. However, it is 2021. They are going to figure it out. They are starting to figure it out. And I think that Cheyanne Baez would have it. I mean, let's also look at the fact that JP Baez, her husband being on the card, first of all, she's a cradle robber. Dude's only 24 years old. I guess she's 25 years old, but you know what I'm saying. But he's like a legit wrestler, you know what I mean? He tried out for the South African Olympic team. And I would really think that for her, she's a Taekwondo black belt. So as far as a couple goes, one's a striker, one's a grappler. But you see Baez has actually added a lot of tools to his own striking game. And being at Fortis MMA, it's not like his lead training partner is his wife. He's out there grinding it out with some of the best guys in the sport, especially in his weight class, and improving. And with her, I mean, she's really improved on the wrestling as well. So if Ruiz goes out there, gets a hold of her, tries to peel her to the ground, and doesn't, Baez is going to beat her based on volume. She got the better striking. I think she's a little bit better. Both of them have great cardio, actually. I seen Ruiz fight 5 rounds in that XFL title fight that she had a few years back. Cardio seemed to be a non-issue, pushes a pace. But again, she is taking this fight on short notice. So if it's affected in the slightest bit, I mean, that's advantage towards Cheyanne Baez. I think that the speeds go towards Baez, the size goes towards Baez. Pretty much everything goes towards Baez. However, the price is just not good enough. So officially, you know how we roll on this show, regardless of if we're actually going to, bank on it, we give our official pick. I am going to take Cheyanne Baez. I'm leaning towards that Cheyanne Baez by decision. But as far as my advice for anybody backing it with, real life money is probably just hit a pass, right? The prop's not juicy enough here and the money line's just too wide out. So enjoy the fight for what it is. But I just think we missed the line.
Yep, and I'm fully with you, Cody. I'm gonna take Baez as well. I think she's gonna be the busier fighter. I see her having more output. I think I know she's the bigger woman. It's just not priced correctly for me. These are two women coming in here debuting. This fight screams total pass for me. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll pick Baez to win it. From a gambling standpoint, not a chance. All right, co-main event time. This is a good one here. Gregor Gillespie versus Brad Riddell. Lightweight fight. Alok, can you get us going?
Yeah, I love me some Gregor Gillespie in this spot. And now a lot of people want to go out there and kind of just fade him because he got knocked the hell out by Kevin Lee in his last fight. But that's literally his only loss in his MMA career. Are we really willing to go out there and just write off a guy that has the amount of potential and, well, not just potential, legitimate skill that Gregor Gillespie has? I'm not willing to do that. If you're still giving me better than minus 250 on this guy, I'm going to go out there and play that because I like the guy. I think that he has the best skills that you need in MMA to go out there and be successful. Probably one of the best wrestling games in that division at this point in time, and great cardio to back it up, and not to mention even better jiu-jitsu to go out there and actually be very successful and effective with that wrestling. Because it's one thing to get the fight to the ground, but what are you going to do once you get to the ground? You do what Gregor Gillespie does, and you start searching for next. The only time he's ever been to a decision in the UFC was his first fight against Glyco Franco, who's a solid fighter, albeit not in the UFC anymore, but still a solid fighter, but then goes out there and finishes everybody else. Level of competition, okay, obviously a little bit sketchy, but he hasn't really had the opportunity to fight the top guys. You fight Kevin Lee, who you got to respect the wrestling in Kevin Lee, which is why I think the fight stayed on the feet for as long as it did. And for as long as it was on the feet, Gregor Gillespie wasn't doing half bad, right? He was jabbing the face off of Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee had some visible damage after that fight, and Kevin Lee lands a big bomb and obviously the head kick afterwards and breaks the jaw of Gregor Gillespie. But I think he took the necessary amount of time off, right? Close to a year and a half off at this point in time. And by all accounts, based on his interviews, the guy seems like super accepting of that loss, knows that it's bound to happen in the MMA game if you stay around long enough, and he's accepting of it and moving forward. And I feel like stylistically, this is a great fight for him. Brad Riddell is being talked up as this crazy knockout artist guy, but like, was he knocked out in the UFC? You gave him Jamie Malarkey, and he could have knocked that guy out. Come on. And all these guys are getting in on takedowns on this guy. That's so easy to close the distance against Brad Riddell that it's just a matter of time. I think within the first minute or so, Gregor's going to be able to land that first takedown. And and the great thing about Gregor is when he goes for takedowns, he doesn't give up on that first attempt. He's chaining that second, third, fourth takedown. He's not, once he gets his paws on you, he's not letting you go until he gets your butt on the ground. So I like that tenacity out of him. And again, I like the cardio because that's where Brad Riddell's opponents have failed in the past. They go out there and they have a very successful first round. Alex de Silva takes him down. Magomed Mustafa gets dropped, and right after getting dropped, converts it into a takedown of his own and then controls the remainder of that round. Even Jamie Malarkey goes out there and gets a takedown. But then once the fight goes longer, their cardio starts to drop off, and that doesn't happen with Gregor. If anything, he gets stronger as the fight goes on, and he's able to, go out there and get a finish, whether it's a ground and pound from the back position or he finds that arm triangle choke or a rear naked choke. The guy is a killer. He goes out there to find that finish. He doesn't try to go out there and just lay and pray. He is a finisher. He's a killer. So, that we have to obviously state that Brad Riddell could potentially knock this guy out. That's his path to victory here. But I'm willing to not go out there and write off Gregor Gillespie completely. I still think he's a top 5 talent. I think he can go out there and, fight for the title. Hopefully he's able to do it soon, though, because he's like 33, 34 years old, so time's really not on his side. But I still think that he's in his peak performance, peak time to go out there and get victories. And he started his MMA career at 24 years old, right? He's only been in the game for 9 years compared to these other guys who are starting at 18, 19 years old. So I still think he has a solid amount of years ahead of him that he can go out there with a very safe type of game plan too, right? He's not taking much damage by taking these guys down continuously. Obviously, that Kevin Lee knockout was a ton of damage, but that probably makes up for all the 12 fights that he had before that. But still, he's still going out there and playing a very safe game plan, which is getting the fight to the ground, and he's one of the best wrestlers in the game to do it. So I like Gregor here. I think the submission is very live, plus 250. Not a bad spot there either. One thing I also will say, I think that Brad Riddell also has a bit of a sketchy gas tank. Luckily for him, his opponents just have had a worse gas tank. So the longer this fight goes, I think the easier it will be for Gregor to find that finish. And I do like Gregor here. I like him a lot, to be honest. And I think he gets the finish here. So I'll go with that. I'll go with the minus 230-ish to minus 240-ish Gregor, and I'll take that plus 250 on the sub line. And if you're not trusting of one Gregor Gillespie after coming off that knockout, the under 2.5 is not a bad spot either, because if Riddell wins this fight, probably knocks him out. There's no way he goes out there and controls this fight on the feet for 15 minutes. He got taken down how many times in his last several fights, right? I think Mustafa landed like 6 or 8 takedowns on him, and then Jamie Malarkey and Alex de Silva landed 3 takedowns on this guy. Now you're giving him probably the best wrestler outside of Makhachev in this division. Yeah, the takedowns are going to come, and I think it's going to look relatively easy for one Gregor Gillespie. So yeah, I like Gregor, and I think he wins this fight via submission, probably first or second round.
I love it. Cody Saftic, let him know.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Gillespie as well, but a lot of it's just the belief. The belief is this guy's got to shoot that takedown. And if he shoots the takedown, he's getting it. No doubt about that. I mean, if you're unfamiliar with his wrestling credentials, they're quite literally second to none. Guy's a national champion. Guy's D1 All-American out of Edinburgh. He's quite literally the man. If it wasn't for Jordan Burroughs, this guy would have made a run in the Olympics. He probably would have made the world team. Unfortunately, the man named Jordan Burroughs fights in the same way, wrestles in the same weight class, and that's kind of it. Gillespie in MMA, if he wants you down, he's going to take you down. You see all of his fights, he gets them down routinely. Outside of Andrew Holbrook, who he just one punched before the fight even had to hit the ground, and he's scoring takedowns on all these guys. And that's the move here. You just got knocked out by Kevin Lee. You've been off for a year and a half. You're 33 years old, 34 years old, actually. It's like you got to go in there and you just got to fight to your strong suit, and that's his wrestling. Now, Brad Riddell understands you want to take him down because being at a city kickboxing is the same thing. It's pretty much most of the guys that come out of the gym, right? They're all kickboxers. They're all striking stylists. You generally want to take them down. So they've been working on the takedown defense, but, it's just not too little too late. How can you get ready in a matter of months or a matter of years, ready for something that Gregor Gillespie has been doing quite literally his entire life? He's been wrestling since he's 4 years old. Like, how do you defend against that? You can't. So what Brad Riddell's done an excellent job in the UFC is he gets up really quick. So you see Jamie Malarkey takes him down. That's a bit of a problem. Malarkey's a boxer from New Zealand, but he gets back up. The Maga Mustafa fight, he gives up 8 takedowns, actually. But a lot of the time, it's like he gets taken down to a knee and then pops right back up. And then you see in his last fight against Alex Silva, again, he gets taken down 3 times, but he always works his way back up. Against Gillespie, you don't have that luxury. If he takes you down, he's taking you down. Getting up is going to be much more difficult. He's a BJJ black belt. Also, his grip strength is very, very strong. He's got a very smothering top control game. And if you do manage to get back up, which is entirely possible, he'll just peel you back down. He does got good cardio. He can rinse, repeat. But he has to go in there with a wrestler's mentality. If he goes out there with a striker's mentality, who knows what's going to happen? In the Kevin Lee fight, he shot 1 takedown. It was half-hard. He didn't fully commit to it, but he was getting his jab going. He was getting his hands going. Unfortunately, he was getting hit. He's getting hit a lot by Kevin Lee. That same thing's going to happen here against Brad Riddell if he was to stay standing. I just don't think he will. I think he'll go out there with the proper game plan, get this fight to the ground. Now, the 2 ways I'm looking at this fight specifically is, 1, fight goes the distance, right? That's going to cover me both ways. If Brad Riddell wins, could he knock out? He absolutely could knock out Gregor. We just seen how bad he got the last time out. But beyond that, I know Locke spoke about this already. He's got 3 wins in the UFC, 3 wins by decision. He hasn't really shown, huge power as far as his UFC tenure goes. So I don't think he's going to knock out Gillespie. Gillespie, meanwhile, taking him down. I think he's going to take down Riddell, rinse and repeat, take him down, win the fight based on holding this down with his wrestling. Brad Riddell's never been finished in his career. So could you submit him? Yeah, but we don't have a great indication that he just gives up submissions. We don't have a great indication that he's got some porous issue in his game. Takedown defense is the only thing that's let him up, but he's always getting back up. He's a good, well-rounded fighter. I like him a lot. It's just I'm a big style makes fights kind of guy, and wrestling tends to beat striking. High-level wrestling versus high-level striking, wrestling tends to be the move. Is that Gillespie has to commit to that style of game plan and keep at it. So again, first thing I'm looking for is fight goes the distance plus 115. Second thing I'm looking for is Gregor Gillespie by decision.
Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I got Gillespie all day in this fight. I think that, you watch Brad Riddell, a lot of his fights, he has that Muay Thai base, so he doesn't use a lot of movement. He likes to come forward, stand right in front of you, and I don't really think that's a good recipe for a guy like Gregor. I don't think Gregor's going to go in there and box with him like he did with Kevin Lee. If he does, then obviously Riddell's super live. He keeps everything super tight, and you'll probably counter him and knock him out. But Gregor Gillespie has that low single, man, and he has so many variations to finish that single leg, man. He probably has the best single leg in the UFC, to be honest with you, because he could finish it in a lot of different ways. And once he gets on top, his scrambling ability and just awareness, like knowing where the person's going to move on the bottom is just really good, man. He has next level top pressure. We've seen him against these guys like Vince Bichelle, Yancy Medeiros, who are at least formidable fighters, and he just smothers them, just absolutely dominates them. I think he had a fight with in the fight with Vince Bichelle, he was winning like 84-0 at one point on strikes or something in the second round before he submitted him. So it was just a complete clinic against a guy like Vince Bichelle. He's at least a decent fighter. And I just see Brad Riddell. Even in these fights too, he likes to grapple himself. Like he'll get up out of the takedown, and he'll reshoot into the clinch. And it's like, I don't know if that's like something that's just in his head, like ingrained from Muay Thai or something, but seems like he likes to clinch up too. And against Gregor, I just feel like it's just not a good striking style because he doesn't really move around that much. He likes to come forward, and I just think it's going to come right into Gregor's range. He's going to hit the single leg, take him down. And I don't think that, these guys that Brad Riddell has been fighting, like Magomed Mustafayev, like, Alex De Silva, are even close to the level of grapplers of Gregor Gillespie when they get on top. I mean, those are strikers, man. I mean, Alex De Silva, Magomed Mustafayev, I mean, those guys are known for striking. I mean, you see Mustafayev landing that spinning back kick on Rafael Fiziev. So, I mean, they were able to take him down. So I just feel like if Gregor takes him down, it's going to be a different world in terms of the top pressure, the submission game that Gregor has, just the ability to scramble. We saw Mustafayev really do a good job of controlling Brad Riddell in that wrestling ride position, which I feel like if Mustafayev is doing that, Gregor is going to be able to control you super easily there, mat return you if you get up. So I think that, the cardio checks out for Gregor to wrestle for 3 rounds if he needs to. And I think he could get, potentially a ground and pound or submission. So I got Gregor in this fight for sure.
It's a clean sweep, boys. I got Gregor as well. Locke, you said, for your money, you think Gregor's probably the next best guy wrestling-wise after Islam. Dude, I am so with you. This guy's ability to get a fight to the mat, and not just get a fight to the mat. As soon as the fight hits the mat, he's already setting up that next step. It's not this to this to this. He's flowing like water. Whatever opportunity is presenting himself, he's taking it to get into a dominant position. I think he learned a very valuable lesson in that. Let's just keep it real. Spectacular and beautiful KO loss to Kevin Lee. Man, the right hand to the left head kick. Truly phenomenal. Gregor took some time off. I think that was good. He is an older guy, so he needs to go, man. The clock is ticking. I just feel like Gregor stylistically matches up so well against Riddell. There's nothing left to say. You guys have talked about it. Riddell's been taken down by basically every opponent, and these guys just are not on the level of Gregor. I feel like for Gregor to lose this fight, he's going to have to play around on the feet too much, give Riddell that opportunity to land some huge shots. I really don't see it. I think Gregor goes in here, handles his business, takes this dude down, mops him up. I think he's even live for a late finish, but regardless, I got Gregor Gillespie in this one, and it's one of my more confident picks on the card. All right, boys, we did it again. We've made it to the main event. We got Derek Brunson going in here against the guy that really can talk, Kevin Holland. I believe it is Cody up on this one. Cody, can you get us started?
All right, so we do shows every Friday. You guys know me by this point. It's like as much as you can break down a fight and find it, there's always like that lingering gut feeling. Sometimes it makes you switch a play. Sometimes you just can't quite figure it out. It's the Brunson thing, man. So again, all week we've been talking just like this Gillespie fight, right? Derek Brunson is an excellent wrestler. He gets down pretty much all of his opponents. If he wants to get you down, he can get you down. Kevin Holland gives up takedowns in almost all of his fights, right? The other thing with Kevin Holland is looks awesome knocking out Jacare in the first round, looks awesome knocking out Charlie Ontiveros in the first round, looks awesome taking out Anthony Hernandez in the first round. That Darren Stewart fight is massive cause for concern, man. That's the first time he at least has to go into the third round, and he gasses out. And that's actually a theme in prior fights is like the longer it goes, his cardio is not great. His takedown defense is not great. And then he kind of seems lost. But it was like the UFC releases like, oh, that's why they call him like a talk. I'm sure you guys watched it, right? And it's just him shit talking from the Contender Series until present day. I didn't know how I felt about that. I think it's a lot like there's nerves, there's anxiety, and that's his way of like shaking it off. He like buddies with you. Like he's talking. He's not mean to any of those guys. He's not Nate Diaz slapping you in the head and being like, what, bitch? Like that breaks you a little bit. You talk to Donald Cerrone. He says it the best in the Nate Diaz fight. He's like, dude, I'd hit this guy a few times and he just like give me the finger and slap me in the face. Like it was extremely demoralizing. Kevin Holland just seems like he's out there having a good time. He's playing around a little bit. Oh, actually, a lot of those sound clips, you see Herb Dean clapping, like telling him to shut up, like fight, like stop talking, fight. So I was like, okay, interesting enough. But then the weigh-ins, it was the same. I got that same feeling, and I didn't pull the trigger on McGregor versus Poirier, right? Where the narrative going in is McGregor's already knocked this guy out. They don't like each other. That's why they're building up this rematch. Connor's extremely motivated, wants to put his name back out there. And he gets to weigh-ins, and they're just like, hey, man, we're getting paid tomorrow. And it was like a buddy atmosphere. And he goes out there. He didn't have the aggression. He fought a different style. Poirier capitalizes on him. Seeing him come in there, it's like Brunson's a guy that keeps his chin way up, and he tends to get a little emotional and run straight into the pocket, right? He doesn't have great footwork. He doesn't cut great angles. And again, he tends to leave his chin up. All the guys that have beaten him, not except for Anderson Silva. He got robbed in the Anderson Silva loss. He got robbed in the Kendall Grove loss. Everybody else has knocked him out. He's been knocked out 5 times. But again, who's knocked him out? Israel Adesanya? No big deal. Jacare twice? No big deal. Yo Romero late in the third in a fight he was winning. No big deal. Robert Whittaker. It's like, oh shit, dude. So he's only lost to the best guys. The guys that are below that, he takes them down, and that's very prevalent in this 3-fight winning streak. Elias, whatever. He takes them down a few times. Elias is not with the promotion anymore. Sure. Heinisch, Heinisch is a fringe 15 guy. Sure, whatever. Shabazian, Shabazian's young. You can make excuses that these guys aren't to the same level, that these guys aren't up to snuff. It's how he beats them. Smart game plan. Goes out there, takes them down. The Shabazian fight is the underdog. Everybody thinks, oh, dude, guy keeps his head up in the air. He's gonna get knocked out by Shabazian, who's some magical striker all of a sudden, and is the soup du jour, and everybody likes him. He's got a lot of hype behind him. But Brunson just goes down to meat and potatoes and gets the takedown. He's 37. I wouldn't say he's in the prime right now. It's that he's got the proper skills. He's got the right game plan to go out there and win a fight. With Kevin Holland goes out there, he knocks you out. Great. If this thing extends round 2, round 3, round 4, is Kevin Holland's cardio there? Is it all of a sudden a lot better? And watching those replays, you see him talk all that shit to Thiago Santos, but it's pretty clear in that fight. It's like he gives up takedowns. He's got nowhere to go. Jacare goes 2 for 2 in the takedowns. He had nowhere to go. He gave 6 takedowns up to Gerald Mearshart, and by the way, flat out gassed out. So there's a lot of holes in his game, but we overlook it because he's really entertaining, and the win over Jacare was dope. Not only does he knock out Jacare, but he threatened him with a triangle and a standing guillotine. Immediately threw up his hips as soon as he hit the ground. I thought his ground game looked a lot better. Turns out he was awarded his black belt. But Brunson's never been submitted, so what are you going to do? Throw up some submissions off your back, scramble, get back up? What if he just takes you back down? You're going to talk some shit off your back? I don't know. But again, that goes back to the buddy at the weigh-ins. Had he gone out there and really put it to Brunson a little bit, maybe made him scared, maybe just give him a little bit of fight anxiety. Okay, I'm going to catch this guy. I'm going to intercept this guy coming in. I'm going to talk this guy, piss him off, bait him into fighting me a little bit, catch him with a shot. But instead it was just like, let me smack your ass. You smack my ass now. It's like, dog, I'm done. I'm off this one. I'm taking care of Brunson. And I mentioned this a lot last night. In a 3-round fight, I got Brunson all day. In a 5-round fight, I had this sense where it's a lot of fight time, man. Brunson probably slips up at some point. Maybe he gets caught later in the fight. But then going back to the narrative that Kevin Holland doesn't have a great gas tank. So, look at the Darren Stewart fight, right? And how it ends in the 3rd. And tell me 2 more rounds. What happens? He's in it. He's definitely in it. Brunson's a much better wrestler, has much better cardio. And last but not least, Brunson, in spots of his career, has kind of dicked around with his training, right? And then the last couple of years, he has his own gym, Brunson's Mixed Martial Arts in North Carolina. This guy's best days are behind him. But then he moves to Stanford MMA, and it's like he looks reinvigorated. His striking looks a lot better, even though he's not using it a whole ton. But it's like he's fighting the proper game plan. He's in shape. He's motivated, and he's getting good sparring in against best guys in the world. And that's got to be a confidence boost as well. So I think Kevin Holland liked the guy, but I think everybody likes the guy. And the UFC's promoting the shit out of him. Check out this video. Check out this soundbite. Check out this interview. It's building up a hype. But why can't the wrestler just go out there and take him down? So, man, I hate to switch the pick. I really do. And I don't even know if I'm officially want to switch the pick. But as you can see, I'm super flippy floppy on this one. So why not take a shot on that underdog? So the real play here, I want to make some money here. I think I'm going to take some of these overs. I like the over 1.5. I like the over 2.5. Probably even fight starts round 3. But basically what it comes down to is if Brunson has his way, he's going to score some takedowns and neutralize this thing for a few rounds. If Kevin Holland's able to catch him later, okay, I'll hit a couple of my early rounds. If Brunson's going to win this fight, it's going 4th. It might go 5th. It might even be a Brunson by decision, which is plus 305, I think. But all the same, I think it's going to bank in a couple rounds. So what I feel more comfortable with is over 1.5, over 2.5, maybe even the over 3.5, not quite that far. And then shit, man, it sounds like I talked myself into a Brunson bet, but I don't love it. It's super low confidence. As you can see, I did my best job to kind of break it down from my perspective, but wrestling's key here, and he's just got to go out there and fight the proper game plan. I think that Kevin Holland buddying with him today, it's like if this ends up being more of a sparring session, we're going to go out there and play touch butt and have a good time. Brunson's going to score some takedowns, and it's going to work for him, right? If it's a serious fight to the death, who wants it more? Maybe Kevin Holland catches him, but he didn't really seem to give off that appearance to me. So last but not least, we're here to talk about weigh-ins, and Kevin Holland does this all the time, but he came in at 183, and I don't know, dude. I also expected him to be way taller than Brunson, but they appeared to be the same height. So again, I think if Brunson does get this guy down, it's going to be a tough go. So officially, I think I'm going to go Derek Brunson by decision. You guys can give me some heat if you want, but it's just a gut feeling I keep coming back to.
You ain't going to catch no heat from me, buddy, because I'm on Brunson too. But Guru, spit that fire.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's two untrustworthy guys, in my opinion, right? I mean, Kevin Holland, he's the new flavor of the week, I guess you could say. But even in his fights, like with Darren Stewart, I mean, we just saw Darren Stewart last week versus Eric Anders. I mean, it looked like Eric Anders was going to get a knockout in the first round, and he's in the third round screaming in Kevin Holland's face and mount, like beating the shit out of him. So it's like that's a little bit of alarming, you know. And his fight with Jacare was a great fight. I mean, the knockout was pretty cool, but I don't know. It was like that's like a meme knockout. It was kind of weird. It was like, I don't know how much stock you could really put into that. I'm not like, I feel like Jacare's chin might be gone because the way that he knocked him out that way, it was just, I don't know. I feel like it's super low percentage to expect that to happen. Yeah. So it's like, I do feel like Holland, he's has good jiu-jitsu. Like if you stay in his guard and if you can like mount him, if you mount him or you get into like a position where you can explode, he's really good at, you know, creating scrambles and, you know, kind of like if you take his back, he does a good job of, you know, getting out of that position, getting on top. So he kind of could scramble a little bit, but I feel like if you get heavy and like half guard, like Thiago Santos did, or just use the crossface, throw short ground and pound, I don't think that necessarily Holland is going to have a lot of room to throw up submissions. And I don't think he's going to be super, you know, aggressive trying to get back up to his feet. I think he's just going to kind of accept the position and talk shit and just kind of try to make it a fun fight. And I feel like also he doesn't really deal very well with forward pressure on the feet, which Brunson, he gives that all day. I mean, besides potentially landing that straight right hand down the middle or maybe landing a shot on the level change, I think that Brunson is going to be able to close the distance and at least get Holland backed up towards the cage where he could, you know, get in on the body lock. And I feel like he's going to be the physically stronger guy. Holland's a guy that, you know, talked about going to 170 before. I feel like he's not that big for middleweight. So I do feel like Brunson, if he can get on top of him, start to use his size, I think he's going to be able to maybe wear him down too. Obviously, you know, Cody talked about, you know, the cardio with Kevin Holland, and Holland this week was talking about, you know, how he wants to be the co-main event king and all that. He doesn't want to fight 5 rounds. So, I mean, I don't know if that's kind of like he's just fucking around. But, you know, I feel like Brunson, I mean, he's only lost to the best guys. So if Holland can get the win here and kind of prove that maybe he's taking that next step in his career, especially if it's like a dominant first round finish or something, then, you know, maybe we'll have to reevaluate him. But for now, I'm actually going to go with Derek Brunson. I think he's going to be able to, you know, use that up-down style where he could back you up and kind of blitz in, you know, get you in the body lock, strike with you a little bit. And I feel like he'll be able to get the win here. So I'm going to go with Brunson.
Ooh, very interesting. Lock, who you going with?
I think the last time we all agreed on a main event underdog was Glover Teixeira, was I not?
I think you nailed it.
And I'm right there with you guys as well. I do have a bet on Derek Brunson here at plus 150. I think it's going to be the takedowns, right? It's the wrestling that's probably going to cause Kevin Holland the most trouble here. He does seem to slow down later in his fights. And, you know, even in his most recent fights, the only one that's gone to the third round as of late was the Darren Stewart fight where he gets taken down and makes Darren Stewart look like a freaking NCAA wrestler. And he just can't even get off his back. Where's that black belt that he apparently has, right? He couldn't do anything with Darren Stewart on top of him, but it could also be attributed to the porous cardio that we couldn't see from Kevin Holland. Obviously, he did knock out Joaquin Buckley, I believe, the fight before that in the third round, but that's a fight that's going his way completely, right? He's able to keep Buckley on the outside, keep popping him on the outside, keeping him out there, and he didn't have much resistance to really deal with there. Like, he's just keeping him in there, and it's really when fighters start to like feel a bit of stress is when they start to slow down in cardio and really start to feel it. And he felt the stress in the Darren Stewart fight. He felt the stress in the Gerald Mearshart fights, the fights that he's going later into fights with, and the fights aren't going his way. Things really start to get iffy for him. Derek Brunson, the guy's been looking great since his Elias Theodore fight, right? That's the one where I believe that was his first fight down at Sanford MMA, and we truly see this like change in discipline from him. He's no longer that fighter that just runs forward with his chin in the air hoping to knock you out. It's not going to work out. Like, he obviously learned that lesson. He knew he was getting up there in age. He's 37 now. He's like, if I have to make a run for the title, now or never. So let me go out there and see what I need to do to truly change the trajectory of my career. I believe he also used to be at Jackson Wink, and it never really panned out for him in terms of creating success off of working at that gym. So then he moves back to North Carolina, opens up his own gym, and then still goes on a bit of a tough run. Then he goes down to Sanford MMA, and he's like one of those diehards that's down in Sanford MMA, truly getting the work in, and he has great training partners to go up against. He's training like daily, I think, with Brendan Allen, and that's obviously a good guy to have across from you, especially with the victory that Allen was able to get over Holland, I believe, over a year or a year and a half ago at this point in time. But I do like what Brunson brings to the table. He's way more disciplined on the feet. He throws solid combinations on the feet, stays busy enough, and then mixes in the takedowns when they present themselves. So if Holland isn't able to get him out in the first round or two, I think he's going to be in some trouble with Brunson being able to complete those takedowns, and possibly that poor cardio of Holland starts to show its head in rounds 3, 4, and 5, and we see Brunson either grind this out or get a late finish in round 4 or 5. I like Brunson here, man. I think that the chin narrative on him is being a little bit overblown as well, just because of his prior lack of discipline when it comes to fighting. Like, he's going in there chin high in the air against freaking Israel Adesanya, chin high in the air against Jacare Souza, and gets clipped there too. Like, we haven't seen him truly show much chin issues in his last couple fights. Like, he's doing a good job of staying away from the big shots, and even when he gets hit, he's all there. Like, he's not getting rocked and dropped and knocked out or anything anymore. So I like the discipline that we see from him, and I think that's the key. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with is, after he pulls off that huge upset over Admin Shabazian last time around, the first thing he does is yell it in the air, 3-0 Sanford MMA. Those are the first words you hear out of his mouth. And that's just a further attribution to, how well the work down at Sanford MMA is doing for him. He believes in it. He sees it coming to fruition for him. And now this is another spot for him to go out there and turn away a guy in Kevin Holland. That's like Guru said, the flavor of the week, the guy that everybody's talking about. So if Brunson's able to do that, that definitely puts him in a position in this top 7-ish range to go out there and hopefully maybe fight for a title in 2022 if he's able to put together another win or two, right? He has all the tools. He has the wrestling. His cardio looks on point. All those fights that went 3 rounds look like he could go another 2 if he needs to. So, I think the grappling is going to be a little bit too much for Holland here. I think we see Brunson get the takedowns, pass guard, nullify the black belt in jiu-jitsu from Kevin Holland, again, either get a decision victory here or a round 4 or 5 finish. So I'll go with Brunson. Officially, I would say round 5 KO.
I love it. Yeah, like I already said, man, I'm on Brunson as well. I think this is a pretty good spot for him. I see 2 outcomes for this fight. Kevin Holland's going to land that hard straight right at some point early in this fight, test that durability of Brunson, maybe knock him out round 1 or 2. But, man, if that does not come to fruition, Locke, you're talking about it, man. The Derek Brunson move to Sanford MMA. I feel like that's the total difference here. Derek Brunson, a guy that years ago would Naruto run in circles around the cage, taking shots on the chin. Now he's a guy calculated, focused, much better fight IQ. And I feel like Sanford MMA, Henry Hooft, they do such a good job of getting their guys in there and focusing on the weakness of the opponent. We all know the weakness for Kevin Holland is that takedown defense and his inability to get up when taken down, which, don't get me wrong, I feel like he showed some improvements, and I expect if he does get taken down, he's going to get up a few times. But it's that gas tank of Kevin Holland. I think if Brunson can stay out of danger, not eat big shots, the later this fight goes, and this is a 5-round fight, I feel like the pendulum absolutely begins to swing Derek Brunson. I think he's going to find that work. I think he's going to be able to get him down. I think he's going to hit him with some heavy ground and pound. I think Derek Brunson can finish this fight in the latter half if Kevin Holland hasn't just starched him on the feet in the first half. I feel like Derek Brunson as an underdog, man, this is some good value. I'm going to take the shot on Brunson as well. So there you go. All 4 of us. My man Cody's a little iffy, but we all ended up on the Brunson side. I love it, baby. You know what time it is. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to throw it around the horn before we get out of here. Guru, where can they find you?
Yeah, man, you guys could find me MMA Prediction Guru on YouTube and then Prediction MMA on Twitter. So, yeah, I know a lot of the usuals are here and always some new people. So thanks, everyone, coming through. Obviously, it's always a fun show. And next week we got UFC 260, so that should be a good show. And, yeah, man, so happy to be here, and I'll be back next week.
No doubt. Lock of the night. Where you at?
MMA LOTN on all platforms. That's YouTube, that's Instagram, that's the Twitters as well. Always fun chopping it up with you guys. Hopefully we can continue our streak of consensus main event underdogs this weekend. That'll be a nice load of cash. And then next week, UFC 260, 2 title fights, big fights. I can't wait to break that down with you guys as well. And hopefully that's another spot where we can all agree on the underdog main event, but we'll see when we get to next week. All right, but yeah, MMA LOTN on all platforms, and we'll see you guys throughout the week.
No doubt. Cody Saftic, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm at right here. But yeah, if you want to catch me on Twitter, got any questions, at CJ Saftic. And yeah, Melvin Gillard only lasted about 46 seconds and then went down. So I'm glad I spent my night with you guys. 2021, as far as the year as a whole, betting MMA, yeah, it's been off to a slow start. I thought that last week we had a much better result, so I'm looking to keep those good times going into this week. And yeah, I mean, the chat was absolutely live, lots of comments, lots of good interactions. And just like anything, it's a good discussion, right? Not everybody's on the same page. Some people are on A side, some people are on the B side, but this is MMA. We're going to get favorites winning. We're going to get underdogs winning, and you can always expect the unexpected. I mean, if Kevin Holland wins from hammer fist off his back, I'm going to be pissed, but again, it's MMA. And the last thing I want to say, those sound clips again, right? Kevin Holland's on his back, Jacques on top. It's like 2.5 minutes into the very first round. Kevin Holland's like, I had a dream about this. And Jacques like, it was like, oh shit, dude, training in that strip mall in Orlando wasn't a great idea. So hopefully Brunson's got his cardio and his lunch packed, and this could be a fun one. But thanks to everyone for joining, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Absolutely. I've been your host, Bleed. Big thank you to these guys, always showing up, always putting in that work, and always hitting us with these awesome spots. Guru, Locke, Cody, thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for watching, being in the chat, even the people on the replay. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, support your boys. We're here every week, and guess what? You'll find us next week and the week after. We do have a week break at some point, but until then, the train rolls on. Let's cash some tickets. Let's have some fun. We will catch you guys next week. We are out of here.